Chapter 41. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. 5 minutes ago, Zhao Wenbin and the middle-aged man confidently told the female student that it was impossible for the other side to send out the king card. But once the two teams played their cards, a white light flashed and the minister card on Tang Mo's side disappeared. This meant that their minister card was restrained and the opposite side had played the king card. Tang Mo's side only had 3 cards left and the duel effect was also triggered. The player who represented the minister card needed to enter the duel. The opponent of the duel was the representative of the king card on the opposite side. It was the man in black. The other person calmly walked into the blank area. The female high school student stepped backwards. She stood behind Zhao Wenbin, her face pale as her lips trembled. "No, why is it me? Why did you play this card?" Everyone said that. Tang Mo rushed over and covered the mouth of the female student. The female student's eyes were red from anxiety. She glared angrily once Tang Mo suddenly covered her mouth. She didn't know why Tang Mo did this. She just thought he was abandoning her. Pinocchio stood by and watched the scene with enthusiasm. After waiting a long time, the female student didn't show signs of entering the duel. Pinocchio stomped his feet on the ground, crushing the pieces of the old radio. "You are a dishonest child. Why aren't you going to the duel?" Tang Mo released his hands from the female student's mouth. The latter wasn't in the mood to criticize Tang Mo. She looked at Pinocchio and sought her last hope. "That I don't want to fight him. They said they were going to play this card. I had nothing to do with it." "He said it, yes, it is what he said." She pointed to Zhao Wenbin. "Why must I go to the duel? It is his idea, so you should make him go instead." Pinocchio moved and appeared beside the female high school student. The female student couldn't respond before Pinocchio kicked his ass and forced her into the duel. At this point, the female high school student couldn't resist anymore. She knew she wasn't a match for Pinocchio and that Pinocchio could easily kill her. If she didn't follow the rules of the duel, no one knew what Pinocchio would do to her. Thus, her only hope now was go to hell. Bang! A loud gunshot rang out in the white world. Everyone was shocked to see the pistol in the hands of the high school female student. Even Tang Mo didn't know that this female student had been carrying a gun with her. The power of this gun couldn't be underestimated. In particular, this sudden sneak attack when the other party was completely unprepared meant it was easy to be hit. The moment the gunshot was heard, there was a pained hissing sound. Tang Mo turned and looked. The person who was shot wasn't the man in black but the middle-aged woman standing behind him. The moment the bullet was fired, the man in black moved slightly sideways and the bullet grazed his sleeve and pierced the left shoulder of the middle-aged woman. Blood flowed out. The female student was shocked when she saw it. But she obviously experienced life and death situations and wasn't too confused. She quickly ran to the rear, pulling away from the man in black. She tried to aim and shoot the gun. Bang bang. She fired 3 bullets in a row but none touched the man in black. He stood in the same place and avoided it. The shooting method of the female student wasn't very accurate. The man in black didn't need to do too much to avoid it. He just needed to move a little bit and he could avoid all the bullets. Instead, the 3 teammates standing behind him were running to avoid these chaotic bullets. The bullets had no effect on the man in black. The tension in the female student's heart reached the limit. She shouted wildly and pulled out a pistol from her other pocket. This time, she closed her eyes and fired indiscriminately. The distance between the two of them was only 5 meters, so it was easy to hit a person if she fired randomly. Once the 12 rounds in the 2 pistols were fired, the female student fearfully opened her eyes. She saw that the man in black was still standing in the same place, unscathed. On the other hand, the middle-aged woman had fallen to the ground because of the gunshot wound, bleeding from her shoulders. The female student panicked and let go, the two pistols rolling to the ground. The man in black stood in the same place, quietly looking at her but not actively attacking. The female student gritted her teeth and suddenly pulled out a knife from her waist. She roared and rushed towards the man in black, holding on to the determination to survive. But at this moment, a silver military dagger was held to the female student's neck. She hurriedly stopped in fright. This dagger was only 1 centimeter from the female student's neck. If she took one step further, she would be stabbed in the artery by a dagger. No one saw the actions of the man in black clearly. Zhao Wenbin and the others looked at him with surprise, then looked at the position where he had been standing. Only Tang Yimou could barely see his movements. He saw the man in black pull out a dagger with incredible speed. Without any tricks, he stepped forward and placed the dagger to the female student's neck. The female student didn't dare to breathe. The man in black turned to look at Pinocchio. Is this a victory? Pinocchio had been watching it with relish. He grumbled with dissatisfaction once it suddenly ended. You can either kill her, beat her until she doesn't have the power to fight back, or she can take the initiative to surrender. These 3 types of situations could be counted as your victory. The man in black pushed the dagger forward and placed it at the neck of the female student. He looked at the terrified girl who couldn't even speak and demanded calmly, "Admit your defeat." The female student trembled. She stared at the man in black, biting her lips. But no matter how she looked, the black man didn't move at all. He kept holding the dagger to her neck. A minute later, the female student spoke in a hoarse voice, the words barely escaping between gritted teeth. I am a regular reserve player. I can't beat you. This time I admit. As the female high school student was talking, she quickly pulled out a black iron cone and stabbed the man's abdomen. There were sparks as a hand gripped the iron cone at a faster speed and pressed hard. Snap! The iron cone broke into 2 and landed on the ground. The female student looked helplessly at the man in front of her. After a long time, she gritted her teeth and said, "That I admit defeat. I'm sorry." The man in black put away the dagger and turned away. The female student stared at his back with resentment. She wanted to grab the pistol and fire another shot. However, a huge black hole suddenly appeared under her feet and she screamed. After a few seconds, his whole body was sucked into the black hole. The black hole soon disappeared and the white world returned to normal. Ding dong. The first round is over. The man in black didn't use any moves at all, only his speed. Zhao Wenbin and the middle-aged man were sweating with fear. They held their breaths as they stared at the man, watching him return to his team. Tang Yimou gazed at this person's figure and a white light flashed in his eyes. He took a deep breath, slowly lifted his gaze and looked at the man's head. Stowaway, the long-awaited duel ended too easily. Pinocchio enthusiastically came to this side. Okay, the first round is over. Now it is the second round. You dishonest children, I don't want to see you killing each other. Bayu, yes, I really want to see you kill each other. Pinocchio didn't try to hide his expression this time. He openly said malicious words. Well, quickly prepare to play the card. What a group of boring humans. How can I be so unlucky as to meet you on a beautiful Christmas Eve? The white wall slowly fell from the sky. Pinocchio jumped onto the wall and lay down lazily. Tang Yimou looked at the man in black standing on the opposite grid. The latter also looked at him. The white wall was still falling and almost blocked the line of sight of the two teams. Tang Yimou suddenly said, "In the next game, we will be playing the queen card." The man in black had a flash of surprise on his face but he didn't have time to react anymore. The next moment, the white wall fell and slammed into the ground, separating the two teams. Pinocchio heard Tang Mo's words and smiled strangely. He lay on the wall and continued to hum his song. The first round ended and the white wall fell. No one in Tang Mo's team spoke for a long time. The dead silence lasted for a long time. Zhao Wenbin asked, why did they play the king card? Someone spoke up and the middle-aged man followed the opening. Yes, how could they play the king card in the first round? Are they crazy? Aren't they afraid of us using the slave card to get rid of their king card? Now that it is over, we have lost one card and it is the very good minister card. What can we do about it? Zhao Wenbin take a few deep breaths and try to maintain the mood. He analyzed, you just saw it. There are 4 people on the team. 3 people are standing on one grid and the man in black is standing in another grid. The 3 people chose the king card and stood on the king's grid. But the player who represented the king card is the man in black. So what? The middle-aged man asked. The man in black didn't choose the king, indicating that he didn't want to play this card. It is probably because he feels like us and doesn't want to use the trump card in the first round. Maybe it is because he represents the king card and is worried about triggering a duel. As he said this, Zhao Wenbin stopped himself. He murmured, that man is so strong. He certainly won't be afraid of a duel. The middle-aged man asked, then his 3 teammates came up with the king card and he didn't want to. I think it's possible. Just now, the man in black returned from the duel and none of his teammates approached him. He must be isolated. If it was me, I would isolate him. He is so strong. Pinocchio said that there are at least 2 stowaways. He must be a stowaway who killed someone. Maybe his 3 teammates deliberately wanted to get rid of him. They chose the king card to eliminate him. It was a pity that he survived the duel. Zhao Wenbin nodded in agreement. He said, let's think about what we should do next. Now we have the queen card, the knight card and the slave card. But in fact, we still have an advantage. What advantage? The Black Tower said that the card we played isn't known to the other team or Pinocchio. Even if our card was defeated by the king card, they don't know that we lost the minister card. The middle-aged man understood. You mean, they only know that we lost a card but don't know if it is the minister card or knight card? Yes. The king card can restrain 2 cards. We know that they played the king because we are the minister, but they aren't sure what we played. This might be the only advantage we have. Zhao Wenbin wiped the sweat on his head. He remembered one thing. Thank you for covering the girl's mouth. Otherwise, she would have said that we played the minister card and the situation would be worse. Tang Yamo stood to the side without speaking. Zhao Wenbin glanced over and saw that Tang Yamo didn't answer him. He didn't ask again and turned his head back. The middle-aged man asked, what should we do next? Zhao Wenbin thought about it. I think that it must not be the slave card. The middle-aged man nodded. That card is the hope for our comeback. We naturally can't play it. Then what? I think they will play the minister card in the next game. They can't be sure of our specific cards but there was a 9 out of 10 chance that we played the minister. Then they know that our remaining 3 cards are the queen, knight and slave. If they bring out the king trump card and are restrained by our slave, they will fall into a disadvantage and the advantage of the first round will be lost. Thus, they will play the minister. As long as we don't play the queen card, they will have a 2 out of 3 chance to win and there is no risk. It makes sense. We should play the queen card. The middle-aged man said before he remembered something. He turned to look at the silent Tang Yamo. His expression abruptly changed. You just told them that we will play the queen card in the next round. Zhao Wenbin also remembered this and looked at Tang Yamo with surprise. The elimination of the female student and the minister card made them confused. Tang Mo's words just then were very sudden. They were in shock and didn't think about it. It was only once they were talking about the queen card that they remembered Tang Mo already said this. Zhao Wenbin's expression became very ugly. This sentence is very important and has disturbed the whole situation. They must be thinking that if we play the queen card, they will play the slave. Or they will think that our words were a cover and we will never play the queen card at it to trick them into using the slave card, and then we will use the knight to restrain the slave card. This sentence made the chaotic situation more unpredictable. The middle-aged man was furious. Why did you say this? Mr. Mo, what do you mean by this? You haven't contributed anything and now you want to hinder us. The first round is over and we are here to discuss countermeasures. Yet you are in a daze. What do you want to do? Say something. The middle-aged man raised a hand to hit Tang Mo. Tang Mo didn't raise his head as he moved sideways and avoided it. The middle-aged man stared blankly. A moment later, he was annoyed. Well, you aren't required to participate in the collective discussion, but you can't add to the chaos. Next time you talk, be careful or I will make you look better. Tang Mo still ignored him. Zhao Wenbin noticed a slight abnormality. He asked, Mr. Mo, what are you thinking about? The middle-aged man looked at Tang Mo with surprise. Tang Mo was looking at the ground, his fingers hitting a bead against his clothes. He closed his eyes and gently sighed, his tone calm. I was thinking from the beginning, why did they play the king card? Zhao Wenbin explained. They want to gamble and bet that we won't play the slave card. As long as we don't play the slave card, they can get the upper hand with the king card. That's wrong. Zhao Wenbin was amazed when his judgment was denied. Tang Mo looked at him with calm eyes. The probability of a slave card appearing in the first game is 20%. In my opinion, this probability is worth the risk but not for you. He looked at Zhao Wenbin and the middle-aged man. The both of you didn't agree. Zhao Wenbin and middle-aged man got something stuck in their throats. Tang Mo said from the beginning that they should play the queen card, but the three people refused. Tang Mo didn't insist. In the end, he didn't stand on the minister's grid but the queen's grid. The middle-aged man yelled guiltily, you said it clearly that it didn't matter if we play the minister card. Don't try to shirk responsibility. Tang Mo glanced coldly at him. I'm not shirking responsibility. I'm just telling you the reason why not playing a slave card is the same as the king card. When a person plays this game, there is only a small probability that they will decide to take risks and play the king card. Once two people play the game together, the probability is even smaller. 3 people, 4 people. There are 4 people and all 4 people will agree to play the king card. The probability of that is too low. Zhao Wenbin retorted. No, there are 3 people who decided to play the king card. The man in black didn't want to play the king card. Tang Mo looked at him and didn't speak. He took out a small parasol from his backpack and made a movement with his wrist. Zhao Wenbin and the middle-aged man looked at him strangely. Mr. Mo, what are you doing? I have been thinking about how they can reach a unified opinion and unanimously get the king card. Tang Mo examined the small parasol. He held the handle and read out a spell with a blank expression. Little Red Riding Hood energy, magical girl transformation. Zhao Wenbin cried out, what did you say? There was a weak flash of light from the pink parasol and Tang Mo waved it twice in the air. The middle-aged man frowned and stepped forward. What are you? His voice abruptly stopped. Brush, the small pink parasol stopped at his neck and the middle-aged man stopped, gulping. After the middle-aged man slowed down, he cried out angrily. What do you mean by this? You better not move. The moment Tang Mo talked, the middle-aged man had rudely waved his hand at the small parasol. His hand touched the tip of the umbrella and the seemingly plastic tip easily cut his hand. The middle-aged man exclaimed as blood flowed down. Zhao Wenbin was startled. Mr. Mo. Tang Mo held the small parasol in one hand towards the middle-aged man's throat. He looked up and said calmly, I thought for a long time about why they agreed to play the king card. It is actually very simple. From the beginning, it wasn't 4 people playing. It was 1. As long as he decides to stand on the king's grid, everyone else isn't qualified to oppose what he says and must stand there. This game doesn't need useless teammates. I am not decisive enough. Tang Yamo paused and concluded. 1 person is enough for this game. The middle-aged man sensed the power of the small parasol and stood still in horror, unable to move. While Tang Mo's attention was on the middle-aged man, Zhao Wenbin rushed over, trying to hit Tang Yamo. Tang Yamo kicked him in the chest, knocking him to the side. Upon seeing it, the middle-aged man immediately pulled out a knife. I will fight with you. Tang Yamo moved the small parasol and blocked this knife. At the same time, the umbrella was quickly closed and the tip was once again at the middle-aged man's neck before he could respond. This time, the distance was only 1 centimeter. Zhao Wenbin was on the ground and didn't dare to move. The middle-aged man was even more nervous and froze. The youth spoke in a ruthless voice. From now on, this team is under my control. I will decide what card to play next. If you don't follow my decision. Tang Yamo raised his head. The game is over. I will kill you. Chapter 42. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The white wall rose slowly. On the other side of the wall, Fu Wenduo stood alone in a grid while his 3 teammates stood in the grid next to him. When the wall rose, his gaze was fixed on the opposite side. He saw the handsome young man in a light-colored coat standing opposite him and the 2 people looked at each other. BDNV. Fu Wenduo smiled at the man. The other person's complexion was unchanged. Like Fu Wenduo, he stood alone in a grid while his 2 companions stood in another grid. Pinocchio jumped down from the wall and moved instantly to Tang Mo's side with great interest. He wondered, is this card really the queen card? Tang Yamo thought for a moment. If I lie, will my nose grow longer? Pinocchio smiled. Of course not. Only the smart Pinocchio will have a long nose. Well, I'm not smart at all. Once the long nose shrank again, Pinocchio touched his nose with a depressed look. Then he looked at Tang Yamo. You won't grow your nose, but I will hear it. The lies of you humans are like gems in a smelly ditch. I can see it at a glance. Tang Yamo said lightly, if a gem falls into a smelly ditch, it is impossible to see it at a glance. Pinocchio said irritably, in any case, are you playing the queen card like you said? The 2 cards were sent out. The card on Tang Mo's side was on the ground and the card of the opposite side was also on the ground. Even if he told Pinocchio this time, the result wouldn't be affected. But Tang Yamo said, the 5th rule of the Black Tower, Pinocchio can't know the contents of the cards on both sides. If I tell you the answer, will the Black Tower consider it to be against the rules? Pinocchio suddenly froze. Tang Yamo said, the card I played this time is. I won't listen, I won't listen. Pinocchio quickly covered his ears. He quickly ran back into the blank area, too scared to forget his instant movement. After running back, he clapped immediately and the 2 cards moved into the center of the blank area. Pinocchio loudly called out to Tang Yamo, you want to tell me the contents of the card, I won't listen. Tang Yamo looked at him meaningfully, before turning his eyes towards the man in black opposite him. The other party was watching him, apparently admiring his interaction with Pinocchio. Tang Yamo nodded to the other side with no expression, but his eyes were looking over the man carefully from head to toe. He looked at the man's hair first, then his feet and back to the man's face. Tang Yamo was looking at the other person so blatantly that any ordinary person would feel uncomfortable. However, the man in black didn't respond at all. Instead, he allowed Tang Yamo to look at him and looked back at Tang Yamo. After the scare where he nearly violated the rule of the Black Tower, Pinocchio was frightened and didn't dare speak any words of nonsense. He also didn't dare sing his original song. He stood away from the two cards. Well, your cards are ready, so let's get started. Ding dong. In the second round, the players have played their cards. The cards flashed with a dazzling white light, making every player unable to open their eyes. In this dazzling white light, only Pinocchio could open his eyes as he looked at the two cards with curiosity. Snap! Ah! Pinocchio exclaimed. The cracking sound of the card was very obvious in the white world. Every player held their breaths as they waited nervously to see which card was broken. Finally, the white light gradually dissipated. Tang Mo looked down at the two cards on the ground. A card broke into powder and disappeared into the air. On Tang Mo's side, the middle-aged man shook and shouted, "Victory! This time we won." The young woman on the opposite side turned white. But she seemed to have thought of this result. She controlled her mind and strode into the blank area. She looked to Pinocchio. The rules of the game says that different cards will trigger a duel. Players representing the two cards will fight. The loser will enter the next game and the winner will stay. After a pause, she continued, "Now my card has disappeared, but if I win, I will stay, right?" Pinocchio touched his nose. Of course. The one who wins will stay behind. The middle-aged man froze as he shouted, "What do you mean, the one who wins will stay?" The silver light from the card on Tang Mo's side was connected with the middle-aged man's eyebrows. The young woman took out a gun from her backpack. "Is it you? Then come on." The middle-aged man didn't dare to move. The joy of winning the game had disappeared. He timidly looked at Tang Mo, but Tang Mo ignored him, staring at the man in black opposite him. The latter unexpectedly looked at him in a carefree manner. The eyes of the two people intersected in the air. They didn't speak, but it seemed like a silent exchange. This time, the middle-aged man represented the Queen card. 5 minutes ago, Tang Mo had used force to suppress the whole team and forced the two people to choose the Queen card. After the Black Tower shuffled the cards, Tang Mo became the slave card, Zhao Wenbin the slave card, and the middle-aged man the Queen card. The middle-aged man was terrified. If the slave card had been the opposite card, his card would be eliminated. No matter what card was played, the two cards wouldn't be neutralized if the king card wasn't played. This meant it was almost certain the duel effect would be triggered. Are you powerful? If you want to duel, then why do I have to die? The middle-aged man didn't dare say this to Tang Mo. He was even forced to stand with Zhao Wenbin on the queen's grid. The other thing he was thankful for was that his opponent wasn't the scary man in black but a young woman. Woman, just a woman. The middle-aged man consoled himself as he entered the duel field. The young woman had taken out a pistol and the middle-aged man was on guard. However, she didn't sneak attack like the female student. She raised the gun with her right hand and leveled her line of sight. Then she raised her left hand, her index finger and middle finger separated. She held her hand in front of her face. The index finger of her left hand formed an angle with the middle finger to reveal her right eye. The middle-aged man looked at her warily. Tang Mo also frowned as he looked at this woman's movements. The next second, he heard her gently say, "Checkmate." Bang! A bullet suddenly shot out of the muzzle. The middle-aged man might be a reserve player, but his physical fitness had also been improved. He reacted very quickly and moved to the side to dodge the bullet. He took out his knife and roared, rushing towards the woman. However, the middle-aged man didn't see that the bullet turned after missing him and shot through his head from the rear. From the back of the head, it emerged from between the eyebrows, causing blood to splash. The middle-aged man's eyes widened as he didn't understand why he died. The woman clearly didn't fire a second shot. Where did the bullet come from? His huge body crashed into the ground, blood flowing from the bullet hole between his forehead into the ground. Pinocchio smiled and couldn't hide his lively eyes. A huge black hole appeared under the body of the middle-aged man. A few seconds later, the body was sucked in. He was the first of the 8 players to die. Zhao Wenbin stepped back like he was scared by the death of his companion. It was an ability. Tang Yimou calmly watched the scene as the young woman turned back to her team. Pinocchio was very happy at seeing such an interesting scene. He hummed his song and walked to the middle of the 2 teams. After the duel, the queen card returned to the side of Tang Mo's team. Tang Mo's team had 3 cards left but only 2 were left. It is the knight card. Tang Yimou looked at the man in black. The man in black looked at him and asked calmly, "Why?" From the moment I deliberately said the phrase, "The next card is a queen card," you were a bit shaken. Before that, you had the advantage. As long as you remove our knight card and then keep using the slave card, it is impossible to lose. Tang Yimou spoke with no expression. The minister card is the same as the knight card. Your choices are the king card, the slave card and the other cards. No matter which one you choose, I have a 1/3 chance of not being restrained by your card. He didn't say, "we." He said, "I." This game was now a game between Tang Yimou and the man in black. The man in black stared at him. The only thing I didn't expect was that you would take control of your team so quickly. If I knew that you would see the importance of the card in this round and decisively snatch it, I would have played the king card in this game. If Tang Yimou hadn't forcefully suppressed his 2 teammates, then according to their analysis, they would play the queen card. First of all, they wouldn't play the slave card. Even if Tang Yimou had said that sentence, there was no way they would play the slave card. Therefore, the man in black could play the king card and restrain his opponent in peace. Or at least there would be tie. However, Tang Yimou told the other team that they would play the queen card. This made his 2 teammates worry that they would lose if they played the queen card. Thanks to Tang Yimou, the possibility of the 2 men not choosing the queen card was 80%. Tang Yimou only had 1 vote. He couldn't convince his teammates and wouldn't be able to decide the contents of the card. However, he took the right to decide by force. The man in black smiled slightly. Why is it the knight card and not the minister card? The man in black didn't play the king card or slave card. But he had 2 options, the minister card or the knight card. So why was it the knight card? Tang Yimou looked at him and didn't speak for a long time. He put his hand in his pocket and pressed on the turkey egg. He tapped twice but stopped on the 3rd one. He calmly looked at the man in black. His voice was calm but there seemed to be a bit of helplessness in his voice. You thought we would play the knight card. If you play the minister card, it will trigger the duel effect and someone will be forced into the tower attack game. If 2 knight cards are played, they will become void at the same time and the duel effect won't trigger. No one will be drawn into the dangerous attack game. Tang Yimou paused because continuing. I've known you for so long. I don't know why you have that identity but... Mr. Fu, you don't seem like a cold-blooded person. If both options are available, you won't force a person into the tower attack game. Fu Wenduo smiled. But you can also choose the knight card so that the man won't have to attack the tower. Based on his own consideration, this was truly the best situation. No one would have to participate in a tower attack game. Tang Yimou spoke lightly, but we have 3 people. Without the knight card, I will be forced into a dead end. I can't take 1 step wrong. He is 1 man, we are 2. Tang Yimou pointed to Zhao Wenbin next to him. Zhao Wenbin looked a bit flattered at being mentioned by Tang Yimou. Tang Yimou didn't look at him. He was always staring at Fu Wenduo opposite him. But even if it was me alone, I'm not such a great person. Between him and me, I will choose the way that makes it easier for me to live. Fu Wenduo smiled. Pinocchio looked at them both and touched his nose. Oh, it turns out that you 2 humans actually know each other. Are you friends? Friends, that is the most fun. Pinocchio's honest card game is most welcome to friends. Every friend who plays this game shows off a beautiful friendship. It is said that their relationship will get better. Tang Mo suddenly stepped towards the blank area. Mr. Fu, I will now exercise the privilege of the Queen to ask you a question. There was a dazzling flash from the golden star in Pinocchio's hand, one end connecting to Tang Mo and the other end to Fu Wenduo. It stopped at the hands of the two people. Tang Mo grabbed the light, while Fu Wenduo smiled, grabbed the light and walked to Tang Mo step by step. Ding dong. Triggering the effect of go home and kneel on the washboard. The Queen card has the power to ask one question. Tip. The question can't be related to the card content. The question person can only answer yes or no. Lying means the game will be lost. After approaching, Tang Mo found that this man was slightly taller than himself. He looked up at the other person and calmly asked, Mr. Fu, do you think the king's gold coin is more important than Momo? Fu Wenduo looked silently at Tang Mo. After a while, he asked, this Momo, which Momo is it? Tang Mo remembered when he was renamed by the law of causality half a month ago and became Momo for a few days. He coughed. The turkey egg. Fu Wenduo didn't mean to play around when he asked the question just now. He asked it very seriously. Once Tang Mo confirmed the question, he didn't answer but fell deep into thought. The reason why he asked clearly was because if the Black Tower judged him to be lying, he would fail the game. Tang Mo understood when Fu Wenduo asked this question and the balance in his heart was already swaying. The king's gold coin was a chance to abstain from the Black Tower game. Momo, the game archiver could store 1 hour of the game and it could be used once every 7 days. If Tang Mo failed this honest card game and was pulled to the second floor of the Black Tower, there was no telling if he could survive. Perhaps he would die and Momo could no longer be used. Fu Wenduo would lose the rare archiver prop. That's why Tang Mo asked him if he considered the king's gold coin or Momo to be more important. He must be clear about Fu Wenduo's attitude since it was crucial for his next strategy. Fu Wenduo thought for a long time and didn't answer. Tang Mo patiently waited for his answer. 3 minutes later, Fu Wenduo answered, no, was the king's gold coin more important than Momo? No. One was a one-time chance to abstain from the game while the other was an archiver that could be used permanently. When compared, the latter was more important than the former. Tang Mo felt a bit relieved when he got the answer. At this time, Fu Wenduo spoke in a low voice that contained a hint of an imperceptible smile. Tang Mo, Momo might be more important but it doesn't mean I will give up this king's gold coin for Momo. Tang Mo looked at him. Fu Wenduo calmly uttered a certain fact. If I won this game, I will get the king's going coin and you will be pulled into the tower attack game. But you won't die. If it really comes to it, at that time. Fu Wenduo's lips curved. Tang Mo, you will use it. Tang Mo's eyes narrowed. He knew. He knew Tang Mo had a king's gold coin. The author has something to say. Tang. You can bully me now when I'm not as strong as you. Once my power grows, you can bully me. Come. Bully me. A long time later, old Fu. Wife, that original person wasn't me. He is the king. Let me go to sleep. I don't want to sleep in the kitchen expression. Chapter 43 You are listening at novelfull.audio. In almost an instant, Tang Mo knew how this man knew that he had a king's gold coin. After entering Pinocchio's honest card game, Tang Mo had been acting very carefully to not expose his strength. No one knew what type of companions and enemies would appear in the same instance. Caution was the most important thing. Thus, once Pinocchio said that the king's gold coin would let them abstain from a Black Tower game, he showed the same surprise and joy as Zhao Wenbin and the others. It should be at this time that Mr. Fu discovered something was wrong. But everything was only his guess. No one knew whether or not Tang Yamo really owned a king's gold coin. Tang Yamo spoke lightly. I don't understand what you are saying. Fu Wenduo smiled. When did you find out it was me? Fu Wenduo replied, before the first round started. Tang Yamo was startled. So early. I have been specially trained to be more sensitive to people's voices, tone of speech and word habits. Fu Wenduo took the initiative to explain and then asked, when did you find out? After the first round was over. At the end of the first round, Tang Yamo thought about the identity of the man in black while wondering why the other party could unanimously decide on the king card. He must be a stowaway, a very powerful stowaway. So powerful that the Black Tower had to make some changes to the rules of the game, giving the Queen's team an unfair advantage. Yes, only the Queen's team had the power to ask a question. This was simply making the game unfair. Why did the Queen card have the right to ask a question and why did the King have to ask honestly, otherwise it would be a failure? What factors determined the position of the Queen card? Tang Yamo thought it was either good luck or the other team had a reason for not receiving the Queen card. Tang Yamo turned to look at Pinocchio. When the underground people play the honest card game, do they have the privilege of the Queen card? Pinocchio smiled at the words and shouted. Of course not. Our underground people are good citizens who admire the fairness of the game. How can we make the game unfair? The Queen's privilege only appears when there is a player who is almost impossible to be eliminated. Pinocchio pretended to be surprised. Geez, did I forget to tell you? My memory isn't good when I am old. You shouldn't forget this rule. Tang Yamo didn't react much to Pinocchio's intentional satire. Zhao Wenbin took a long time but he finally understood, making him stare angrily at Pinocchio. Pinocchio's skin was so thick that when he saw Zhao Wenbin's angry expression, he just looked prouder. Fu Wenduo spoke, the last reason for guessing my identity is due to the privilege of the Queen card. Tang Yamo looked at him. Yes. Your voice is a bit different and I didn't know who you are. But this privilege is too ridiculous and strange. The advantage is given to the Queen's team. Thus, there is only one possibility. There is a presence in the opposite team that destroys the balance of the game. What type of existence could destroy the balance of the game? Pinocchio's honest card game was divided into two parts. One was the victory in each round and the other was the final victory. In order to ensure that the team didn't lose and to get the King's gold coin reward, they needed to get the final victory and beat the opponents. However, having different cards on both sides would trigger the duel field. This duel was the most unfair embodiment of the game. Even if the card won against the opponent, if the person dueling couldn't beat the opponent then they would be eliminated. The most unfair result would be that Tang Mo's side beat their opponent every time. But when it came to the duel, they had to face the most terrible enemy. The enemy eliminated their players again and again. Once the fourth round was won again, even if the opponent was eliminated, there would only be one person left in Tang Mo's team. It wasn't fair. Tang Yamo guessed that there was an opponent who can't be defeated by anyone and could determine Fu Wenduo's identity. The Black Tower believed that even Tang Yamo couldn't threaten the powerful opponent on the opposite side. This opponent was noticed by the Black Tower and forced to clear the Black Tower. Tang Yamo didn't know how many players in the China had cleared the Black Tower. But attack was well informed in Shanghai. Luo Fengqing didn't know all the players that cleared the Black Tower's first floor, he didn't know about Tang Yamo. Taking Shanghai as an example, the number of players who passed the Black Tower's first floor in China was very few. And this person was stronger than Tang Yamo. Such a powerful stowaway, it can only be you. Fu Wenduo smiled. I didn't expect to meet you in this situation. I had no idea it would be this scenario. Tang Yamo spoke in a relaxed tone. Mr. Fu, let's make a bet. Fu Wenduo's eyes flashed. What bet? Once Pinocchio heard this, interest filled him and he gathered curiously. Tang Mo glanced at him. You aren't afraid that what we say next is related to the contents of the card? Pinocchio placed his hands on his hips and looked at Tang Mo like he was a fool. When the card is played, both cards only show their backs. No one knows the contents except for you. What cards are you saying? I don't believe you. I can't tell if you are lying about the card contents or not. Even if I believe it 90%, as long as I don't admit it, who dares to say that I know your card? I see. Pinocchio waved his hand impatiently. Well, what are you going to bet? This is the first time I've seen someone make a bet in the honest card game. Tang Mo no longer cared about Pinocchio. He looked at Fu Wenduo. This bet has nothing to do with the card content. It doesn't matter if Pinocchio hears it. Mr. Fu, so far we have played a total of 2 cards. No matter what card we chose, no matter the outcome, something has happened twice. We are always standing on the opposite grid. Fu Wenduo asked, so? There is a lot of coincidences in the world. You might have the upper hand, but in fact, the situation isn't decided yet. In the final outcome, you are just slightly more likely than me to win. This game isn't entirely based on strength. Luck and a moment of choice are also the key to the game. The winning percentage of our 2 teams isn't really 5.5. As far as the current situation is concerned, the person who will win or lose is hard to determine. Fu Wenduo was still unmoved. You are right, but luck is also a type of strength. Tang Mo said calmly, I don't want to gamble on this luck. A win-win situation might be the best option compared to a party being eliminated. Fu Wenduo was silent. Pinocchio was the first to speak. Win-win, ha ha ha, not bad, you really are good friends. Good friends want to hold hands and play the honest card game together. No one can lie. Tang Mo kept looking at Fu Wenduo. I want to make a bet with you. The content of the bet isn't related to the contents of the card and it is okay to be heard by Pinocchio. After a pause, Tang Mo continued. We both happen to stand in the opposite grid. The probability of this is only 1/16. So did I bet that in the 3rd round, we will stand on the same grid? Pinocchio asked, hey, what is this strange bet? It does not have anything to do with the cards. Fu Wenduo laughed. If I win, you have to promise that the ending of this game won't affect the relationship between Momo and us. What if you win the bet? Tang Mo replied, if I win the bet, Mr. Fu will end this game peacefully and no one will be in danger. Pinocchio touched his nose, his eyes moving back and forth between Tang Mo and Fu Wenduo. Fu Wenduo looked at Tang Mo like he was unsure about the bet. Tang Mo suddenly turned his head and looked at Pinocchio. I am an honest human, Pinocchio. This time, the contents of the bet is really irrelevant to the cards. Pinocchio didn't care. Even if it is related to the contents of the card, I can't be sure that if you are lying or not. Therefore, it doesn't matter if I hear it. Fu Wenduo suddenly said, okay, I agree to this bet. Pinocchio smiled and clapped. The 2 good friends have made a bet. This is really the most interesting honest card game that Pinocchio has ever seen. I have seen more than 100 honest card games in the Underground Kingdom and I have never seen a peaceful end. Tang Mo said, perhaps you will see it today. Then he turned and walked back to his own team. Fu Wenduo was the same. Pinocchio opened his mouth, revealing a sinister smile. He said, I am looking forward to it. But the expectations and gloating in his eyes told a different story. The white wall fell down, blocking the 2 teams. As the white wall separated both sides, Tang Mo watched Fu Wenduo while Fu Wenduo watched him. The 2 people quietly looked at each other until the wall fell and they couldn't see the opposite side. Tang Mo went to a grid and stood still. While Tang Mo and Fu Wenduo were speaking, Zhao Wenbin didn't have a chance to speak at all. He watched Tang Mo and Fu Wenduo make a bet, and then Tang Mo selfishly stood on one grid. There was no to intervene in the bet. Zhao Wenbin was so anxious that his face was red. He hesitated for a long time before saying, "You are standing in that square. Can you really win?" Tang Mo looked up at him. "You will stand in the knight's grid." Zhao Wenbin suddenly understood. "You will deliberately give the knight card to them to show our sincerity in this gambling contract." "No, what if we lose the knight card? If they break the promise and refuse to end the game peacefully, what can we do? Even if the man in black breaks the contract, how do you know that you will win the bet?" The probability of Tang Mo and Fu Wenduo standing in the same grid was 1.4. Zhao Wenbin wasn't in a hurry to become a eunuch. He was anxious, but Tang Mo chose a grid from the beginning and didn't move. When the previous 2 rounds were played, Pinocchio was lying on the wall, humming. This time, there was the bet, so he eagerly looked at Tang Mo's side before turning to look at Fu Wenduo's side. Tang Mo and Fu Wenduo couldn't see or hear each other, but Pinocchio knew everything. Pinocchio saw Tang Mo look up at him and raised his chin, the red feathers of his heat swaying. "Don't look at me." Honest Pinocchio never betrays his friends. "Bayou, okay, the dishonest Pinocchio will never tell you where that man is standing. But that you can guess." Pinocchio's sharp laughter rang out. He looked at Tang Mo with no good intentions and touched his nose. "Pinocchio's nose will grow longer if I lie. Maybe you can ask me some questions, such as where that man is standing." Tang Mo ignored him. Meanwhile, Zhao Wenbin pondered for a while before asking, "Pinocchio, has that man chosen a certain grid?" "Yes." Pinocchio's nose didn't become longer. Zhao Wenbin asked, "Do you think this bet is ridiculous?" "Of course." Pinocchio's voice stretched out and Zhao Wenbin excitedly waited for his words. Pinocchio watched him pretending to be calm and suddenly laughed. "Why should I tell you? You stupid human. Ha ha ha, you are like the stupid bug in the banana pub, so cute." Pinocchio's nose didn't grow longer when he said this. Zhao Wenbin was stunned before reacting. You tricked me." Pinocchio sat on the wall and clapped happily. Bug. Zhao Wenbin cried out, "You." Tang Mo looked at them before looking away. Zhao Wenbin was a bit clever. He determined that Pinocchio had already seen the positions of Tang Mo and Fu Wenduo. At this time, he asked Pinocchio if the bet was ridiculous. If Pinocchio thought it was ridiculous, it meant that Tang Mo and Fu Wenduo weren't standing on the same grid and that Tang Mo was a joke. But Pinocchio only said that his nose would become longer when he lied. He didn't say that he would answer Zhao Wenbin's questions. Zhao Wenbin was angry and anxious at being played by Pinocchio. 5 minutes later, the Black Tower prompted the players to make the card selection. Zhao Wenbin was so angry that his face was flushed. He was anxious for Tang Mo and also for himself. Once the time was up, Tang Mo held the small parasol and looked straight ahead. He didn't have to look anywhere else as the plastic tip was directly pointed at Zhao Wenbin's neck. He said, "Come and stand in the knight's grid." Zhao Wenbin stopped breathing. He wanted to scold this cold-blooded stowaway. He thought that Tang Mo was a stowaway. Zhao Wenbin was obviously trying to find a way for Tang Mo to win the bet. Tang Mo didn't appreciate it and allowed Pinocchio to play with him. The pink parasol moved closer, pressing against Zhao Wenbin's neck. Tang Mo declared, "Stand there." Zhao Wenbin gritted his teeth and stepped in the knight's grid. Pinocchio smiled. "You really don't want to think again and change your position." He made a fist with his right hand, deliberately touching his head. "Oh, I forgot. You have to stand in the knight's grid or else you can't play the card." Tang Mo looked straight ahead, not looking at Pinocchio. Pinocchio didn't find it fun and no longer spoke to Tang Mo. He jumped off the wall and clapped. Boom, the white wall started rising. Zhao Wenbin held his breath and stared at the white wall. He even bent down to see the positions on the opposite side. Zhao Wenbin's body stiffened when he saw which grid Fu Wenduo was standing in. He stood upright, comforting himself. It doesn't matter. There is still a chance. As long as we didn't choose the wrong card, it doesn't matter. The white wall had completely risen. Tang Mo was standing on the rightmost grid, while Fu Wenduo was standing on the leftmost grid. The two people stood completely diagonal to each other. There was no way anyone could say that they were standing on the same grid. Pinocchio placed his hands on his hips and laughed. He ran to Tang Mo's side and looked at the expression on his face. You lost. He waited a long time and didn't see any despair in Tang Mo's expression. Tang Mo remained calm as he looked at Pinocchio. Pinocchio frowned with dissatisfaction. I said that you lost. You lost, you lost. He won. A low voice was heard in the distance. Pinocchio turned to look at Fu Wenduo. What are you saying? He obviously lost. The two of you aren't standing in the same grid. Tang Mo said, but we also aren't standing in any grid. Pinocchio's body froze. Everyone present, apart from Tang Mo and Fu Wenduo, looked with surprise at the position of Fu Wenduo's feet, even his three teammates. In the white world, Fu Wenduo was standing on the boundary line between two grids. Tang Mo was also standing on the boundary line between two grids. It wasn't Zhao Wenbin and Tang Mo who chose the knight card. From beginning to end, Tang Mo didn't choose any card. Only Zhao Wenbin chose the knight card. For the Black Tower, Tang Mo abstained from selecting a card. Zhao Wenbin chose the knight card, so the knight card was played, not affecting the final result. However, Tang Mo and Fu Wenduo chose to not stand in any grid. The look on Pinocchio's face suddenly became very agitated. No one expected a puppet to be able to make such complex and rich expressions. His eyebrows started to raise randomly. Once the eyebrows finished, his nostrils started moving. Finally, he screamed angrily. It isn't fun at all. He wanted to see something interesting. But he wasn't excited in the end. Pinocchio had wanted to see this group of humans kill each other. He turned to look at Fu Wenduo. Will you keep the promise? That is the king's gold coin, the king's gold coin. You still have an advantage and are likely to win. Fu Wenduo said, I will keep my promise. Pinocchio, Damn, I really hate honest humans the most. Against the backdrop of Pinocchio's violent words, the cards selected by the two teams moved into the center of the blank area. There was a loud sound and the silver card on Tang Mo's side was broken. A silver light shot from the broken card and connected to Tang Mo's eyebrows. At the same time, on Fu Wenduo's side, the silver light connected to the eyebrows of the young woman and white-haired old man. It was like this. Tang Mo's heart thumped. After the Black Tower shuffled the cards, there were 2 people and 3 cards on Tang Mo's side. Therefore, both the knight card and slave card were connected to Tang Mo, while the queen card was connected to Zhao Wenbin. Tang Mo didn't know what rule the Black Tower would use to choose what player would have multiple cards. Maybe it was random or maybe there were other screening criteria. But the opposite team had 3 cards and 4 people. 1 card was connected to 2 people. The light connected to the young woman and white-haired old man constantly flashed. Both of them were nervously waiting for the light's final choice. After a minute, the light around the old man faded and the dazzling white light was connected to the young woman. The woman gritted her teeth and entered the duel field again. She had already exposed his ability. Therefore, she didn't give Tang Mo any time to react and directly fired when she entered the duel field. Tang Mo moved sideways to avoid the bullet. When he avoided the bullet, the woman raised her left hand and held it in front of her face, revealing only her right eye. Checkmate. Bang. A second bullet fired from the silver muzzle and shot straight at Tang Mo's forehead. Tang Mo quickly recited a spell and opened the small parasol, the bullet reflecting off the parasol. However, it was only half reflected. The bullet turned in the air and flew towards Tang Mo's eyebrows. The young woman raised his gun again and fired a third bullet. Checkmate. Bang bang bang. 4 bullets flew like flying insects, their trajectory going against the laws of science as they constantly rushed at Tang Mo. Tang Mo moved the small parasol extremely quickly, blocking every bullet with the umbrella. The bullets hit the small parasol, causing a harsh metal collision. Everyone present was stunned. Only Fu Wenduo had narrowed eyes as he watched Tang Mo repeatedly use a strong physical ability and reactions to avoid the attacks of the 4 bullets. As time passed, the attack speed of the 4 bullets became slower. The young woman was pale when she shot the 4th bullet and seemed to become a few years older. Now she had a white hair on her forehead. She saw that Tang Mo was perfectly dealing with the 4 bullets and gritted her teeth, raising her gun with trembling hands. Checkmate. The gun fired and half of the woman's hair immediately turned white. But the moment she finished her words, Tang Mo waved away all 4 bullets. He stared at the woman standing 4 meters away. The woman seemed to realize something and turned in horror, but her physical ability had fallen and she couldn't react at all. The 4 bullets had turned and shot at Tang Mo after being fired, while the 5th bullet flew straight to Tang Mo. Once the 5th bullet was fired, the speed of all bullets slowed down. Tang Mo bent down. His body was like an arrow as he leapt forward. The 4 bullets continued to chase behind him. Tang Mo ran to the young woman. Behind him, the 4 bullets were getting closer and closer. He raised the parasol and his pupils magnified to the extreme. Using this horrible dynamic vision and his body reaction, he waved the small parasol and stabbed forward. Clatter. No one paid attention to this small sound. Only Fu Wenduo's eyes widened with surprise as he saw Tang Mo using the tip of the umbrella to split apart the 5th bullet into 2 pieces. As Tang Mo's parasol aimed at the young woman's neck, the 4 bullets and 2 bullet pieces had caught up with him and were pointed at the back of his head. But the tip of his umbrella touched the woman's neck first. All the bullets stopped and the young woman looked at him with horror. She seemed to have forgotten to breathe and her face was white. Clang. The bullets made a loud sound as they fell. Tang Mo didn't remove the parasol. He stated coldly, "Admit defeat." The young woman's hair was almost entirely white as she trembled. I admit defeat." A huge black hole appeared under the woman's feet. She screamed as she fell down, disappearing from the white space. Tang Mo closed the parasol and returned to his position. Pinocchio finally showed some interest on his face as someone was eliminated. He clapped and the white wall slowly fell from the air. Fu Wenduo shouted, "In the next round, I will play the minister card." Tang Mo turned to look at him, lips slowly curving. Good. Pinocchio was angry at the dull game. 5 minutes later. Ding dong. In the 4th round, the players have played their cards. The silver card in front of Fu Wenduo broke. He really played the minister card. Tang Mo, who represented the queen, stepped forward while the middle-aged woman opposite him trembled. Tang Mo had just opened the small parasol when the woman unexpectedly said, "I give up. I admit defeat. Don't kill me, don't kill me." Tang Mo was slightly startled. He was regarded as a stowaway. The black hole appeared at the foot of the middle-aged woman. Tang Mo put away the umbrella and said in a light voice, "That I'm sorry." At the end of the 4th round, Tang Mo's team still had him and Zhao Wenbin, while the opposite side only had Fu Wenduo and the white-haired old man. There were 2 cards left on each side. The king card and slave card, and the queen card and slave card. The white wall slowly fell while Tang Mo and Fu Wenduo stared at each other. Tang Mo said, the next one is according to the rules of the underground kingdom. Fu Wen Duo replied, yes. Pinocchio was bored enough to pick up the pieces of broken radio and put them back together. After listening to Tang Mo and Fu Wenduo's words, he sighed and said, I knew I shouldn't have done this boring thing. Then he bowed his head and continued to play with the broken radio. Once the white wall fell, Zhao Wenbin was relieved and felt that he could narrowly escape for the first time. Although he had been oppressed by Tang Mo, at least he could safely leave the instance. He didn't dare ask for the king's gold coin. A good reward was no use if he didn't have his life. Once the two teams played the slave cards, the king and queen would be played together last. The king and queen would hold hands and end this absurd and cruel game. Zhao Wenbin walked over to Tang Mo, thank you. He said thank you. If Tang Mo wasn't here, he would have died at the hands of the man in black. Tang Mo might be a tough stowaway, but the game was almost over. He was willing to say thank you. Tang Mo was looking at the ground, as if he was thinking of something. Zhao Wenbin didn't get an answer. Then he asked curiously, what are you thinking? The game is going to end. Is there a problem? I was thinking that how did he become a stowaway? Zhao Wenbin knew that Tang Mo was talking about Fu Wenduo. He always believed that Tang Mo and Fu Wenduo were stowaways. He said, he killed a person and became a stowaway. The man in black killed someone in the 3 days before the earth went online, making him a stowaway. Tang Mo didn't answer. This wasn't the answer he wanted. In the second round, Tang Mo's reason for Fu Wenduo playing the knight card and not the minister card was because when both options were available and Tang Mo's team played the knight card, he would choose the knight card. The two knight cards would void each other out and the dual field wouldn't activate. If he used the minister card to suppress the knight card and trigger the dual field, one of the two teams would have one less person. In the second round, Tang Mo had no choice. If he played the knight card, the hope of ending the game peacefully was slim, even if he made the bet. But Fu Wenduo could choose to use the minister card. He chose to play the knight card instead. This meant that unless it was a last resort, Fu Wenduo wouldn't watch others die or force them to participate in the dangerous tower attack game. And the first round, he actually gave us a chance. Zhao Wenbin asked, what? Tang Mo shook his head. Nothing. In the first round, Fu Wenduo and got the advantage. But if the Tang Mo team really decided to follow the rules and play the slave card to peacefully end the game, Fu Wenduo would lose. It looked like a big gamble and he eventually won, but it also gave the opposing team a chance. Looking at the first game alone, Tang Mo couldn't see his intentions. But once combined with the second team, Tang Mo really that this person really wanted to give the opponents a chance. Why did this type of person become a stowaway? Once the game is over, I might know. Tang Mo whispered to himself. Pinocchio had no interest in hosting the game. He sat on the wall and played with his radio, letting the black tower prompt the players to play. The white wall gradually rose and the cards of the two teams were exposed. Tang Mo and Zhao Wenbin were standing in the grid of the slave card, while Fu Wenduo and the old man were standing opposite. The two sides glanced at each other. The old man was trembling. He didn't dare move with Fu Wenduo beside him, but his expression was ugly. He turned his head several times, as if he wanted to talk to Fu Wenduo. But once he saw Fu Wenduo's face, he closed his mouth and didn't dare move. Zhao Wenbin looked at the old man strangely. Pinocchio said, "You play by yourself. It is really boring." Two silver cards clung to the ground and moved to the blank area. There was a dazzling white light and Tang Mo closed his eyes, waiting for the end of the game. Pinocchio was the only one who could open his eyes in the light. He wasn't interested in looking at the cards as he concentrated on the old-fashioned radio. Until there was a sharp sound. It was one instead of two sounds. Pinocchio raised his head in horror and looked at the broken card. A white light shone from the center of the broken card, connecting to Fu Wenduo's eyebrows. On the other side, the white light shot out and connected to Tang Mo's eyebrows. Pinocchio looked at the broken card. The next moment, he looked at Fu Wenduo and said incredulously. "Are you crazy? Why did you play the king card? Do you want to lose the game? You don't understand the rules of the game. You will lose." The white light dissipated. Simultaneously, Tang Mo and Fu Wenduo opened their eyes and looked at Pinocchio. At this moment, a loud voice rang out in the white world. Ding dong! Pinocchio has learned the contents of the card and violated the rules of the game. He has been deprived of the privilege of being a citizen of the underground kingdom. Ding dong! China District 2's number 419 instance has changed to Santa's Honest Card Game. Chapter End. Chapter 44. You are listening at novelfull.audio. In the white world, the black tower gave its prompts. Zhao Wenbin and the old man stared blankly at Pinocchio, not understanding what had happened. Pinocchio's funny and lovely puppet face still had surprise on it. But Tang Mo and Fu Wenduo didn't give him time to respond. The moment the black tower spoke, Tang Mo and Fu Wenduo moved like lightning towards Pinocchio. Tang Mo opened the small parasol and waved it. He didn't attack Pinocchio. Instead, he moved the parasol behind Pinocchio, blocking his path. At the same time, Fu Wenduo formed a fist with his right hand. The middle finger was slightly raised as he used a boxing move to hit Pinocchio's face. The short eruption of power made Pinocchio unconsciously try to escape. However, he was stopped by Tang Mo's small parasol and couldn't run away. He could only turn and take the punch. Pinocchio moved his hands angrily and disappeared in front of Tang Mo's eyes. The next moment, he appeared behind Tang Mo, waving his wooden arm and hitting Tang Mo in the back. His arm seemed small and thin, but the force was enough to break the wind. Tang Mo didn't dare be careless. He used the small parasol to block and was thrown back. On the other side, there was the sound of metal colliding. Tang Mo stabilized his posture and watched in amazement. He saw a dark metal weapon appear in the position where he had just been, blocking Pinocchio's arm that tried to attack again. The two collided, causing metal sparks. Pinocchio took half a step back while Fu Wenduo was still. The attack was blocked and Pinocchio's expression changed. He clapped his hands and his body disappeared into the white world. In the blink of an eye, he appeared on Fu Wenduo's left side. Fu Wenduo took the attack directly with his left hand and turned to attack. Tang Mo reacted quickly. He no longer looked at Fu Wenduo and waved his small parasol, rejoining the fight. Bang bang bang. Pinocchio moved constantly, attacking Tang Mo and Fu Wenduo from all angles. But the two of them were physically strong. Tang Mo continued to use the small parasol to block Pinocchio's attacks while Fu Wenduo attacked Pinocchio. The three of them were very fast. They were shadows in this white world with their bodies not being seen. There was only the constant sound of collisions. Zhao Wenbin and the old man fled in horror, fearing that the suddenly battle would spread to them. However, the area where they could move was limited to 4 grids. They could only stick to a corner of the grid to avoid the battle. His speed is slower. Tang Mo cried out as he thrust his umbrella forward, the tip piercing Pinocchio's hat. Fu Wenduo appeared next to Pinocchio. Together. Good. Tang Mo opened the small parasol and looked at Pinocchio. Fu Wenduo aimed another blow to the left of Pinocchio and Pinocchio immediately disappeared to avoid the attack. Tang Mo's eyes widened and he held his breath as he stared carefully at the place where Pinocchio disappeared. His pupils were magnified to the extremes as a vague shadow appeared on his retinas. As if someone pressed the pause button, Fu Wenduo's attacking action flashed in front of Tang Mo's eyes frame by frame. The shadow could run very fast. When the black weapon was about to pierce Pinocchio's head, Pinocchio stepped back, then turned around and ran to Fu Wenduo's back in order to reverse the attack. I see you now. At this moment, Tang Yamo swung his parasol. The pink parasol suddenly stopped in front of him. Pinocchio immediately changed directions and rushed to Tang Yamo. Tang Mo's speed with the small parasol wasn't as fast as Pinocchio. He couldn't pull the parasol back in time to protect himself. Just as he was about to hit Tang Mo's face, a black weapon was placed between Pinocchio and Tang Yamo. In addition, a huge match suddenly appeared and aimed straight at Pinocchio's face. Pinocchio screamed as he was hit by the match and landed on the ground. He prepared to move again, but Tang Yamo and Fu Wenduo held one arm each, trapping him. Pinocchio was pressed to the ground by the two players, unable to move. He cried out furiously, "What do you want to do? Do you want to violate the rules of the game? I am an important person in the underground kingdom. You won't get out of the game this time." Pinocchio's strength was great and he could teleport. But after the Black Tower announced that he was deprived of his citizenship in the underground kingdom, his teleport speed slowed down until it was visible to the naked eye. This change wasn't obvious in the eyes of Zhao Wenbin and the old man. They still couldn't see Pinocchio's shadow. But Tang Yamo and Fu Wenduo could gradually catch his figure. In addition, Pinocchio's strength had lowered. As time went by, B became slower and weaker. Thus, Tang Yamo and Fu Wenduo could capture him. Whoosh! Fu Wenduo waved his hand and the black triangular cone-shaped weapon disappeared, returning to the original hand. Tang Yamo glanced at the hand and Fu Wenduo said in a deep voice, "It is my ability." It was an active explanation. Tang Yamo returned the big match to the tattoo and replied, "This is also my ability." Both of them exposed their abilities. It was a tie. The match tattoo was actually just an ability that Tang Yamo collected and it wasn't his real ability. However, Tang Yamo wasn't sure what Fu Wenduo's ability was. It was obvious that Fu Wenduo's ability wasn't just turning his hand into a weapon. The two people didn't fully disclose it and were even. Pinocchio was still roaring but his struggles were becoming weaker. "Do you want to go against the underground kingdom and the Black Tower? You are out of your minds." Tang Yamo spoke lightly. "Mr. Pinocchio, I must remind you that you have been deprived of your citizenship to the underground kingdom. At the same time, we are no longer playing Pinocchio's honest card game. It is Santa's honest card game. This game has nothing to do with you. If we imprison you, will it affect the game?" Pinocchio had nothing to say to these words, he could only curse. "You are the dirtiest dogs in the underground kingdom. Even if your legs are cut off and you become gnomes in the circus, you will be despised by the audience." Tang Yamo and Fu Wenduo didn't react to Pinocchio's abuse. Fu Wenduo took out a fine silver rope. He said it was a rope but it was more like a long silver wire. He tied Pinocchio up with this rope. The strange thing was that Pinocchio couldn't get rid of this rope. Every time he struggled, it got tighter and tighter. This was a prop. Tang Yamo thought in his mind. After handling Pinocchio, Tang Yamo and Fu Wenduo stood in the blank area, looking at each other. At this moment, a white light was connected to their foreheads. This was the cue telling the players to duel. Just now, Tang Yamo played the slave card. After the two cards entered the blank area, Fu Wenduo's card was broken. It was Fu Wenduo's king card. The two cards were different and the king card disappeared, triggering the duel effect. The two players representing the card needed to duel. Now Pinocchio was subdued and the game changed to Santa's honest card game. However, the light connected to their foreheads didn't disappear. Tang Yamo frowned slightly. He thought for a moment before putting his hand into his pocket, touching the white turkey egg. He was just about to take out the turkey egg when he heard a snap. The white light connecting the two people suddenly broke and a loud and cheerful voice was heard from a distant place. "Ha ha ha ha, Merry Christmas. The reindeer moved forward and the bells on the sleigh rang. Everyone turned to look at where the sound was heard. They saw Santa Claus in his red outfit, laughing as he came from far away. The 4 reindeers' hooves moved across the ground, causing the ground to shake. Santa Claus seemed to bring his own BGM with him as the sound of "Merry Christmas" was heard in the surroundings. He laughed and pulled the reins, causing the reindeer sleigh to stop in front of the 4 players and Pinocchio. His huge body was like a mountain, creating a shadow that pressed on everyone's heads. Santa might be laughing, but the terrifying pressure caused Tang Mo to be tense. This was an instance boss that was 1 level higher than Pinocchio. Tang Mo gripped the small parasol as he looked at Santa Claus cautiously. Santa's sharp gaze swept over the 4 players present and fell on Pinocchio. Poor Pinocchio was tied up on the ground. Once he saw Santa Claus, he was so scared that his body was shaking. Despite being tied up, he squirmed and tried to escape. "You sinister Pinocchio!" Santa Claus roared at Pinocchio. Santa Claus sat on the sleigh and said, "You dare to steal my golden star and open an instance alone. My poor children, they are good and honest children, but they were deceived by you. Suppose that someone really won. Once the game is over, you would eat them." Zhao Wenbin paled at the words. Tang Mo also didn't think of this ending. He thought that Pinocchio would only eat the stowaways after the game. He didn't expect that all the players would be eaten. Santa opened the big bag full of gifts and aimed the bag at Pinocchio. Pinocchio screamed as he was sucked into the red bag. Santa tied the bag with a rope. He patted the bulging bag and turned to look at the 4 players. He smiled, revealing a kindly expression. "Let me see. Children, you are fortunate. I made it in time and we can peacefully end this honest card game. Christmas is here and this is the Christmas gift I prepared for you. Fortunately, I can give it to you guys again." Tang Mo looked at the smiling Santa and thought for a moment. "Santa, may I ask if you made a bet with Pinocchio?" Once he heard these words, anger appeared on Santa's face. "This damn Pinocchio, he is the worst villain. On Christmas Eve, he asked me out for a drink. He heard that I was going to give gifts to the good children on Christmas Eve. He lied and made a bet with me. When I was drunk, he stole my precious gold star. When Pinocchio lies, his nose grows longer." Fu Wenduo said. Santa Claus nodded. "Yes, his nose really grows longer. But when I made the bet with him, his nose never grew longer." He was telling the truth. There are too many children to give gifts to. I really needed Pinocchio to help me play games with the children. I didn't think that during a peaceful and honest card game, he would make children dishonest and gamble with him. I never thought he would actually steal the golden star and used it as a gift for winning the game. Tang Mo immediately understood. The gold star isn't a reward for the team who wins the game. Of course not. I only have 10 of these golden stars. How can I give them to good children all over the world? Santa waved his right hand. The golden star suspended in mid-air flew towards him and disappeared into his sleeve. As long as every child participates in the game, I will give them a Christmas tree branch. You see, this is the branch. This is my Christmas present for every child. Tang Mo looked at the branch in Santa's hand and took out his own branch from his bag. Like him, everyone took out the tree branch that they got when entering the instance. Tang Mo felt a bit helpless and funny as he looked at this plain branch. They got the real reward from the beginning. Santa Claus laughed. Don't worry about this abominable Pinocchio. He is no longer a citizen of the underground kingdom. I have banished him to the monster world. I believe the monsters there will love him. Everyone, let's get on with the game. Once the game is over, you can get a gift from Santa Claus. Ding dong. The Christmas Eve surprise instance Santa's Honest Card Game has officially began. The rules of the game. First, each team has 4 cards. 5. Once the card is played, the player behind the card is shown but the players of the other party can't see the contents of the card. 6. A team that doesn't have a card is considered to be a failure. The gifts from Santa Claus are always very stingy. Only a tree branch comes out. But don't be discouraged. This might be an extraordinary branch. After all, it is called Santa Claus branch. Santa's honest card game was different from Pinocchio's honest card game. There were only 6 rules. The rule of different cards triggering the duel field was deleted, as well as the rules of Pinocchio not knowing the contents of the cards and the privilege of the queen card. Without a duel, there was no need to worry about one party being superior to each other and the queen card's privilege wasn't needed. This was a symbolic game where players were free to get a gift after the game. Santa Claus sat on the sled and smiled. Come on, my children. Play this warm and honest card game with Santa Claus and let's spend a beautiful Christmas together. Merry Christmas. The game started again. Tang and Mo walked back to the grid and the white wall gradually fell. As the wall blocked the front of them, Tang and Mo looked up at the man in black standing opposite him. Fu Wenduo smiled slightly and Tang Mo's lips slowly curved. The wall completely fell and Tang and Mo relaxed that he couldn't get the king's gold coin, but this ending might be the best. Once he heard the rules of the game announced by the Black Tower, Tang and Mo noticed that Pinocchio was written into the rules. Out of all the games he played, this was the first time that the instance boss was written into the rules of the game. From the first game of Who Stole My Book to today's honest card game, Tang and Mo had participated in 8 games. There had been no game rules involving the boss. It was only Pinocchio. Tang and Mo didn't have doubts about Pinocchio because of this. He actually got the idea of eliminating Pinocchio first, before the second round. In the first game, Tang Mo's minister card was crushed by Fu Wenduo's king card. Before the white wall fell, he tried to get the advantage in the next game as much as possible by telling Fu Wenduo he would play the queen card. When the next round was played, Pinocchio asked curiously if he really played the queen card. Once Tang and Mo planned to tell him, Pinocchio became really resistant, as if he was afraid of something. Pinocchio feared that Tang and Mo would say he played the queen card and the Black Tower would decide he learned the card content. Pinocchio didn't admit it, but if Tang and Mo told him, the Black Tower might indeed determine that he knew the contents of the card. Pinocchio was afraid that the Black Tower would decide that he violated the rules. Thus, after seeing this scene, Tang and Mo had a bold idea. Since Pinocchio was written into the rules of the Black Tower and Pinocchio violated the rules. What would the Black Tower do? There were 4 types of final outcomes in this game. Tang Mo's team won, Fu Wenduo's team won, the 2 sides ended the game peacefully, or Pinocchio eating the players after the game ended. Tang and Mo and Fu Wenduo didn't have much contact, but he knew this man was thoughtful. He would think of Pinocchio's words, how can the Christmas game kill people? This could mean that as long as the game was over, Pinocchio could kill people. Fu Wenduo would also think of this. Tang and Mo was an official player and the monsters in the game instances were mostly not interested in him. But Fu Wenduo was different. He was a stowaway. Pinocchio had been shown to covet stowaways. If Fu Wenduo really won this game, would Pinocchio keep the promise and let him go? Or would he bite Fu Wenduo's body before releasing him? No one knew. The king's gold coin was a big temptation and Fu Wenduo wouldn't give up easily. Tang and Mo first used the privilege of the queen card to determine Fu Wenduo's attitude. He determined that Fu Wenduo wasn't obstinate about getting the king's gold coin. After that, he used the bet to begin a partnership to eliminate Pinocchio. Making him believe was really difficult. Tang and Mo couldn't help feeling this. Zhao Wenbin realized a lot after Santa appeared. It seemed that his life was saved. At this moment, he heard Tang Mo's words. He thought for a moment before saying, "To tell you the truth, I was scared to death when you rushed out to fight Pinocchio. That if possible, we are teammates, so can't you tell me your plans in advance? Tang Mo replied, Pinocchio can hear our every word and sentence. Zhao Wenbin realized. Ah yes. Pinocchio was lying on the wall listening to us. He thought again. But this game seems to be over and we won't be teammates anymore. Tang Mo didn't answer him. In this cooperation, the hardest thing was making Pinocchio relax his vigilance in order to do something that would violate the rules. To this end, Tang Mo and Fu Wenduo took part in a play, leading Pinocchio step by step into a seemingly simple but effective trap. The beginning of the cooperation was the bet. At that time, Tang Mo kept reminding Fu Wenduo, Pinocchio can't know the card contents. He repeated this reminder over and over. Fu Wenduo didn't let him down. Fu Wenduo realized his meaning and agreed to the bet. In fact, he didn't agree to the bet but to this cooperation. Tang Mo was worried that Pinocchio would find something strange. He didn't dare communicate with Fu Wenduo in any way to determine which grid the two of them should stand in. This bet was the stepping stone for the next series of acting. Tang Mo had to win this bet in order to cooperate and swindle Pinocchio. Tang Mo immediately thought of using the turkey egg to speak to Fu Wenduo. There were two ways to use the turkey egg. One was a normal call. The player could contact the other person by knocking 3 times on the turkey egg. However, their voice would be heard by everyone around them. The other was to open the archiver. Once the archiver was turned on, their voices would be heard in the other person's mind. Once Tang Mo and Fu Wenduo accepted the bet, Pinocchio was standing next to them and staring too deeply. Tang Mo had no chance to open the archiver. After the wall went down, he drew a S on the turkey egg when Pinocchio wasn't looking. Unfortunately, he couldn't hear anything. At first, Tang Mo thought that the turkey egg couldn't be used, but soon the turkey egg flashed brightly. Fu Wenduo also opened the archiver. He still couldn't hear Fu Wenduo's voice, but the archiver was already open. The probability of Tang Mo and Fu Wenduo standing on the same grid was only a quarter. He pondered for a moment and then stood in the middle of 2 squares. He believed that the other side would be able to guess his thoughts and choose the most likely method to win. Sure enough, the white wall rose and both of them were standing on the line between grids. The best was established. Once the white wall rose, Tang Mo could hear Fu Wenduo's voice. He couldn't hear a sound when the wall was down but could freely communicate once it rose. Presumably, the rules of the game blocked any communicate between both sides. As long as the wall was down, it was impossible to communicate even through the turkey egg. Being able to communicate with Fu Wenduo under the eyes of Pinocchio made the game even easier. But even without the private communication between turkey eggs, his tacit understanding with that person seemed to be too high. Sometimes he just needed to look in the other's eyes to understand Fu Wenduo's meaning. Was it because he was too smart? Tang Mo could only think of this narcissistic reason. It seemed that only this reason was valid. Ding dong. After 3 minutes, all players are asked to stand in the grid of a card. The card in the grid will be the card shown in the next game. The game prompt sounded and Tang Mo's hands were in his pocket. He touched the turkey egg in his pocket and walked to the queen card. This time, he didn't use any suppression and Zhao Wenbin also went to the queen card. Zhao Wenbin said, all the rewards are the same. Of course, it would be good if it is a draw. We choose the queen card, they choose the slave card and our queen card will be beaten. Next time, we will play the slave card together so that the game can end peacefully. Zhao Wenbin's voice was very light. He hadn't dared talk to Tang Mo when he thought Tang Mo was a stowaway. The white wall slowly rose. The slave and queen card slid into the blank area, with the queen card breaking. This time the duel effect didn't trigger. Only Santa Claus laughed and sent a blessing. Ha ha ha, that's it. The children are doing well. After laughing, Santa suddenly took a pocket watch out. Oh children, I have to rush to the next instance. I heard that the hateful painter deceived me and actually wanted to harm my lovely children. Let's hurry with the final round and end this honest card game. The white wall fell and Zhao Wenbin stood on the last slave card. 5 minutes later, the two slave cards turned into light and disappeared. The two teams lost their last cards at the same time and the game officially ended. Santa laughed as he pulled the reins and flew around the white world. Ha 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 ha, Merry Christmas. Ha ha ha. The red Santa Claus driving the reindeer sleigh quickly disappeared from the white world. At this time, Tang Mo was finally free to walk out of the grid area. The old man seemed afraid of Fu Wenduo and didn't dare approach. Zhao Wenbin also stood still and didn't dare move, waiting for the instance to end. Once Santa Claus left, Tang Mo's grip on the small parasol released. Once he put the small parasol back in his bag and looked up, he found that Fu Wenduo was standing on the grid and smiling at him. Tang Mo's foot lifted a bit. He only took a step before pausing. He didn't go forward and contact Fu Wenduo. The two people looked at each other from a distance. After a long time, Tang Mo said, "Mr. Fu, happy cooperation." Happy cooperation. I rarely celebrate Christmas. Tang Mo carried his bag and spoke calmly. But I think this is the worst Christmas celebration I've ever experienced. Fu Wenduo replied in a deep voice. For me, it was a very interesting Christmas. Tang Mo heard the words and stared at him. For a moment, the two of them laughed together. Tang Mo stated, "I am in Pudong." Fu Wenduo raised an eyebrow and said quickly, "Good. We are destined to see each other again." The dazzling white light flashed in the center of the white world. Tang Mo gradually couldn't see Fu Wenduo's expression, he only saw a figure in black. It was like when he first saw this man. No matter what, the man would forever stand upright, like a strong mountain. He wouldn't waver. This standing posture is from special training. In the white light, Tang Mo closed his eyes and whispered to himself. What type of person is he? The white light swallowed the four people. The next moment, Tang Mo opened his eyes and was back on Earth. It was Christmas Eve and the sky was dark. Tang Mo left the instance and immediately ran into a factory to hide. Tang Mo pulled the turkey egg out of his pocket. On the shell of the turkey egg, the S character was still shining. Tang Mo covered the turkey egg with both hands. The white light gradually disappeared and the archiver was closed. I didn't get any rewards but I wasted an archiving opportunity. Tang Mo smiled wryly. Using the archiver in the game was a last resort but it must be done. Tang Mo and Fu Wenduo made the decision to make Pinocchio violate the rules of the game. But no one knew what would happen if Pinocchio was eliminated, so he could only use the archiver. Assuming that Pinocchio didn't relax his vigilance and was judged to be in violation of the rules by the Black Tower, they would read the archiver and return to the beginning. This was an escape route. Tang Mo muttered, "When I am in the same instance as him, if one of us uses the archiver then it will judge that both of us are using it and the files will synchronize. In other words, if I really become hostile to him in the future, even if he agrees to use the archiver, he will also load the save file." Tang Mo's fingers tapped on the turkey egg. Every time he knocked on it 2 times, he would pause on the third one, stopping the 3 consecutive taps from connecting to Tang Mo. After thinking for a long time, Tang Mo stopped tapping on the turkey egg and concluded. Don't enter an instance with him again. At least, I can't have a hostile relationship with him. On the one hand, the use of the turkey egg was too restrictive. On the other hand, I don't want to be hostile to Fu Wenduo. If we play again, I don't know who will win. This time, Tang Mo saw Fu Wenduo's ability while Fu Wenduo just saw the tip of Tang Mo's ability. However, Tang Mo's possession of the king's gold coin was discovered by Fu Wenduo. Tang Mo's face was expressionless as he came to a conclusion. I lost. A loss. After remembering all the actions in the game, Tang Yamo lay on a bed in the factory's office and took out the Christmas tree branch. The cold moonlight shone through the window and onto his face as Tang Yamo carefully observed the branch. The branch was narrow and there were no leaves. It seemed to be an ordinary leaf. For the sake of this branch, the 8 players participated in Pinocchio's honest card game. 1 player was killed and 3 people entered the tower attack game, where life and death were unknown. In addition, there were many people in other instances going through a variety of games for this branch. Tang Yamo gazed at the branch for a long time before putting it back in his backpack. With his current physical fitness, he felt full of energy when he slept once a week. Thus, he closed his eyes and thought about other things. Time passed by. Tang Yamo thought of the phrase "I am in Pudong" that he blurted out in the instance and slowly opened his eyes. I will go to attack tomorrow and see what happened to Qin Shanshan. He wouldn't return to Suzhou for the time being. China was quiet. Many players who left the Christmas instance were holding their tree branches and finding a place to hide. At exactly midnight, a dazzling light shot out from Tang Mo's backpack. Tang Yamo immediately opened his eyes and looked at his bag. He saw something long shining in his bag. The light penetrated through the canvas bag and illuminated the whole room. Tang Mo's heart thumped. He carefully opened the backpack and was ready to reply. He opened the backpack and the glowing Christmas tree branch flew out. Tang Yamo reacted very quickly. He reached out and grabbed the branch. But he only grabbed empty air. The branch had completely turned to light, flying out the window and into the air. Tang Yamo walked to the window and looked up at the sky. In the dark night sky, tens of thousands of white lights flew from all corners of China, flying together in the high sky. The branches connected together in the sky, forming a Christmas tree. The huge Christmas tree made of light occupied a vast area, spanning most of China. It shone brightly, turning the night into day. The moment the light shone to the extreme and everyone couldn't look at it with the naked eye, loud laughter could be heard. "Ha, my lovely children, Merry Christmas!" Boom! The Merry Christmas song rang over the city as a giant Santa Claus in a slide appeared behind the Christmas tree. The 4 reindeers ran forward and smashed through the Christmas tree. The Christmas tree turned into thousands of points of light and flew to the ground. One of the star-like spots flew straight to Tang Yamo. Tang Yamo stretched out a hand and the small light suspended over it. On Tang Mo's palm, this small light shone brilliantly. Tang Yamo closed his eyes as the white light enveloped his body. 5 minutes later, he opened his eyes and the light on his palm disappeared. Santa Claus laughed boldly as he pulled the reindeer sleigh and flew through the distant sky. Tang Yamo formed a fist and moved his wrists. He felt that his body had become lighter and his muscles filled with strength. This little point of light improved Tang Mo's physical quality. His physical fitness was better than other players. He was in the lead among the official players and stowaways. Therefore, the improvement from this light wasn't too obvious for him. But this upgrade would be very scary for other players. Christmas Eve was over. It turned out that this was the real Christmas gift. Tang Yamo smiled helplessly. He left the window, intended to rest again. In the sky, the many lights had found their own destination, bringing the Christmas gift to every player who survived the game. But the moment Tang Yamo turned around, above the cheerful background music of the Merry Christmas song, a clear child's voice was heard. Ding dong! Version update notification. January 1, 2018, the Black Tower version 2.0 will come online. Please familiarize yourselves with the new version rules as soon as possible. The new version game rules. Tang Yamo turned his head and his eyes widened. He stared at the giant black tower suspended in the center of Shanghai. The dark tower flashed with a colorful light, just like the day it announced that the Earth was online. The Merry Christmas song was still playing. The voice didn't stop as it continued to speak the new version of the game rules. The author has something to say. Black Tower. Surprise. Isn't it a surprise? Isn't it exciting? I'm keeping up with the times, a real-time update. Tang Tang old foo who will team up with me to kill it. I will give $100. Chapter 45. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Ding dong. The Black Tower version 2.0 new rules. First, real instances are opened. Players can participate in Black Tower games on Earth. Second, assembly instances are opened. Once an assembly instance is opened, players can enter the instance in the area of the Black Tower. Third, every player must attack the tower once every 3 months. Otherwise, they will be forced to enter. Ding dong. January 1, 2018, the new version will be launched. There will be more rules, please look forward to them. LO. The clear child's voice stopped while the Merry Christmas song was still singing in the sky above Shanghai. In the dark night, the Black Tower hung like a heavy giant above the city. Tang Yamo looked into the distance and clenched his fingers. He pondered for a moment but didn't choose to travel at night. Instead, he returned to the room and found a pen and paper in the drawer. He wrote down the currently known Black Tower rules. There were the 3 iron-clad rules the Black Tower gave on the first day of the game. First, everything was explained by the Black Tower. Second, 6 o'clock to 18 o'clock is the game time. Third, all players please attack the tower. The first and third rules could be ignored. The second rule was about the game time, which should be standard for each region. The Black Tower divided the more than 200 countries on Earth into several large regions. The more powerful countries, such as China and the United States, were divided into districts. There were also many regions composed of multiple countries, such as Europe. The first player in each region to trigger a tower attack game would pull all players in the region into the game and the Black Tower would speak their name worldwide. The Black Tower would also announce the name of the first player in each district who cleared the Black Tower attack game. Tang Yamo listed all the names he heard and their districts onto the paper. On the white paper, black Chinese characters were divided into 2 lines. The first line had countries split into districts and the second line had districts made up of many countries. The representative of the former was China while the representatives of the latter were Europe and East Asia. Tang Mo's finger tapped lightly on China and East Asia. China belongs to East Asia but the China districts are separated from East Asia. What is the standard for dividing each district? Under the dim light, Tang Yamo looked at the names of these areas. He pondered for a moment before looking at the other rules. The game time being between 6 o'clock and 18 o'clock referred to the local time. For example, China used Beijing time as the national standard time. Therefore, all players in the China region could only trigger an instance during this time. Apart from the Christmas Day benefits instance which was more like an extra instance. Tang Yamo was suddenly surprised. Then the United States still hasn't experienced the Christmas benefits instance. Tang Yamo looked at the clock on the wall. The minute hand had just crossed 12 and was pointed at 1. The second hand ticked pat. It was now 0.05 on December 25, Beijing time. For the United States which was on the other side of the globe, it was 11.05 on December 24. China officially entered the Christmas benefits instance at 6 o'clock in the evening. Did this mean the United States would only experience the Christmas instance 7 hours later? Tang Yamo used a black pen to draw 2 circles around China and the United States. In the quiet room, Tang Yamo lowered his head and quietly wrote on the paper, stopping from time to time in order to think. 5 hours later, the sky was bright and there was a faint blue-white glow on the horizon. Tang Yamo packed up his things and prepared to leave. Before leaving, he crumpled up the piece of paper, threw it into the trash can, lit a lighter and burned it to ashes. After making sure that the paper had completely turned to ashes, Tang Yamo left with his bag. He quickly sneaked into the mall where Attack was located. When he arrived at the underground parking lot, he didn't see anyone. He went to Luo Fengcheng's office and no one was present. He thought for a moment before going to the infirmary on the second underground floor. Sure enough, there was light in the room and faint voices could be heard. Tang Mo opened the door and the people inside looked at him cautiously. Once they discovered it was him, the crowd sighed with relief. Under the bright lights, Tang Qiao and Liz were using gauze and iodine to clean Luo Fengcheng's wounds. There were 3 beds in this temporary infirmary. At this moment, every bed was full and there were 5 people sitting on the chairs to the side. The little fatty sitting on the innermost side saw Tang Mo and rushed over. "Brother Tang, are you okay?" Zhao Xiang looked Tang Mo up and down and didn't find any wounds on him. The little fatty sighed with relief. "You aren't hurt?" Tang Mo nodded. "Yes." His gaze swept over the Attack members in the room. Of the 3 members lying on the bed, 1 member was present when Tang Mo attacked the Stowaways organization. They lay quietly on the bed, with bandages around their body. Luo Fengcheng sat on a chair as Liz dipped a cotton ball in iodine. She forcibly dug out the gravel in his wounds and bandaged them. Then Luo Fengcheng stood up and walked over to Luo Fengcheng. "You are okay. You got the reward. You didn't get it. Didn't everyone here pass the Christmas instance and got a reward?" Luo Fengcheng didn't answer while the litty fatty said sadly, "Many of us didn't get it. Brother Tang, after the Black Tower released the branch mission, we quickly searched for the Christmas branch. But there are a lot of people in this mall and the branches nearby aren't enough. Attack organized 18 people but only 9 managed to grab a branch. Teacher Luo got 1 while Jack and I missed out." Little Fatty was still a student and didn't like to call Luo Fengcheng by doctor. He was like Chen Shanshan and called Luo Fengcheng a teacher. Tang Mo immediately had a question and looked at Luo Fengcheng. "There are more than 9 people injured in this room. Liz and Tang Qiao were also injured. They weren't injured before Tang Mo left in the afternoon." Luo Fengcheng explained, "I will explain while we walk." Tang Mo nodded lightly. "Attack had 9 people get a Christmas tree branch. I got it by coincidence. Tang Qiao and Zhao Xiang missed it. After getting the branch, I was immediately sent to an instance where the boss was a roly-poly toy. The contents of the instance weren't difficult but there were some traps. These aren't important so I won't elaborate for the moment. You and I completed the mission." Based on Tang Mo's reaction, Luo Fengcheng easily guessed that he received the Christmas tree branch. Player Tang Qiao couldn't enter the instance successfully but was forcibly pulled in directly after the 30-minute time limit. It was like this. Yes. When I was taking care of my wounds, I asked all members of Attack. Our instance was difficult but the general feeling was the same. They should belong to the same type of instance. All Chinese players were sent to the Christmas benefits instance after finding a Christmas tree branch. After the game was over, they got Santa Claus reward, which was the little star that enhanced their physique. Players without a Christmas tree branch participated in the game but didn't receive a reward. Tang Mo didn't think that this instance would be mandatory for everyone to participate. Even if the game was completed, they wouldn't receive a reward. He had one more question. "You said that the instance was hard." The 2 people walked to Luo Fengcheng's office. Luo Fengcheng pulled out a shabby yellow book and opened to the latest page. Tang Mo saw that there were many words written down, some of which seemed rushed. Luo Fengcheng handed Tang Mo the book. "These are the approximate contents of the games that I obtained after asking each member." Tang Mo looked down. Zhao Xiang and Jack entered the same instance. "Their instance is the hardest out of all the games I know." Jack said that the instance had a total of 5 people. Apart from him and the little fatty, there was one person with a powerful ability. Luo Fengqing continued, in addition to them, the instance that Tang Qiao entered was also a bit difficult. But it was far simpler than Jack and the little fatty. Tang Yamo read all 12 instances. He closed the book and looked up. It is much simpler than mine. Luo Fengqing nodded. Sure enough, the instances are based on the player's strengths. The difficult will adjust according to this. He asked, how hard was your instance? There were a total of 8 players. 1 player died on the spot while 3 players were forced to enter the tower attack game. Only 4 people, including me, made it out. Looking at Luo Fengqing's thoughtful expression, Tang Yamo took the initiative. According to my speculation, the reward for the Christmas instance is the same. Players who fail the game will be forced into the tower attack game. Therefore, the difficulty of the game is related to the player's level. The instance I participated in wasn't difficult just because of me. There was another player whose level was very high. Luo Fengqing was interested. Due to the presence of you and him, your instance eliminated 4 people. Tang Yamo didn't want to talk about Fu Wenduo. His relationship with Fu Wenduo was very subtle. The 2 people didn't know each other but they were connected by the turkey egg, making them temporary companions. Fu Wenduo had incurred the hatred of all players in China. Tang Yamo didn't dare say his name. There was no need to tell Luo Fengqing about this. Tang Yamo was thinking of a reason to not talk about this when his face stiffened and he looked up at Luo Fengqing. Wait, Chen Shanshan. There were 12 instances in the book and the names of 13 members. There was no Chen Shanshan. Luo Fengqing's expression darkened and he didn't speak. A sad voice came from the direction of the door. Brother Tang, Shanshan didn't come out. All the players who cleared the game are out. Then that isn't something wrong. Tang Mo's heart thumped. He couldn't say anything as he saw the little fatty's red eyes. He turned back to Luo Fengqing. Luo Fengqing nodded. A total of 5 attack members still haven't left the Christmas instance. Among them are Chen Shanshan and Xiao Feifei. Chapter 46. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After the Christmas benefits instance suddenly opened, I went with Shanshan, Lu Chen and Feifei to find the Christmas branches. We finally found 2. Lu Chen and I decided to give the branches to Shanshan and Feifei. The 2 of them went into the branch instance. The little fatty was much stronger than he was half a month ago. In the fact of his companion's disappearance, he tried to calmly speak. I originally thought that Shanshan and Feifei are girls, their fighting abilities are inferior to me and Lu Chen. Lu Chen and I don't have branches, maybe we could handle the danger. We can't let the 2 girls handle it. But midnight passed and they didn't come back. Zhao Xiang's eyes were red but he didn't cry. Tang Mo's fingers clenched as he analyzed. Even if they took the branch at the same time, they might not necessarily enter the same instance. Just like how Jack obtained a branch but you didn't, yet you entered the same instance. The instances are completely random. Zhao Xiang nodded. Tang Yamo looked at Luo Fengqing, who stared back silently. Finally, Tang Yamo walked to the little fatty and whispered, "Wait." In fact, Zhao Xiang already knew this matter but he couldn't resist telling it to Tang Yamo. They had no choice but to wait. Tang Yamo didn't know what instance Chen Shanshan was in. Now the Christmas instance was closed, he couldn't get in. The little fatty hung his head and left. Tang Yamo looked at the little fatty's sad back and his lips tightened. Don't tell him that the 2 girls are likely to be forced into a tower attack game. Tang Yamo turned at Luo Fengqing's words. The young doctor in a white coat put his hands in his pocket and looked at Tang Yamo quietly. There are many types of Christmas instances. In all likelihood, once Santa gave out at the gifts at 12, China's Christmas instances were over. Tang Yamo knew the truth. Among the 13 members of attack, Tang Qiao was forced into the instance. At 12 o'clock, the large instance of 16 people that she participated in had 3 people killed and 8 people eliminated. Only the remaining 5 people remained vigilant against each other and continued to play the game. At 12 o'clock, the game wasn't over yet, but they were all returned to the real world. The Christmas instance only existed on Christmas Eve. Chen Shanshan and Xiao Feifei hadn't left. This meant there was only one possibility. They had been eliminated and entered the tower attack game. Tang Yamo looked down at the small sculpture on Luo Fengqing's table. After a long time, he said, "The Black Tower will update a new version soon. I won't leave Shanghai for the time being." Luo Fengqing asked, "How long do you plan to wait?" There was only one reason to wait for the new version of the Black Tower. Suzhou had a Black Tower, so there was no need to stay in Shanghai. He was going to wait to ascertain Chen Shanshan's safety. Tang Yamo looked calm as he gave the answer. 10 days. After leaving Luo Fengqing's office, Tang Yamo randomly found a car and lay down to rest. The quiet and empty underground parking lot was dimly lit. A faint light shone through the dark car windows, revealing only a vague outline. Tang Yamo extended his right hand and held it in front of his eyes. He remembered that a month ago, a little girl stuffed a box of biscuits into his hands and he got her ability. Even if there was a chance to enter the instance to save Chen Shanshan, Tang Yamo wouldn't enter immediately. He would think for a long time before deciding to look for someone, provided that he had the king's gold coin. Without the king's gold coin, it was absolutely impossible for him to enter a dangerous tower attack game for the little girl. As Luo Fengqing said, he decided to stay and wait for 10 days. If Chen Shanshan didn't appear in 10 days, he would return to Suzhou. Time was like water and 7 days passed quickly. On Christmas Eve, 5 members of attack failed to leave the instance. 7 days passed and they still didn't appear. After the situation with the Stowaways organization, the departure of the members didn't cause much turmoil in the organization. Everyone accepted it calmly. On the eve of 2018, Tang Yamo, Jack and Luo Fengqing quietly left the mall at night. In the dark, the 3 men were like lightning as they quickly passed the factory and residential areas. They crossed Nanpu Bridge and sneaked into Puxi. Once they were 5 kilometers from the Black Tower, Tang Yamo stopped and reached out to Jack and Luo Fengqing. The 3 people were hiding in a dim alley. Tang Yamo lowered his voice and said, "Jack is skilled but your body is too big. Your movements aren't agile. Luo Fengqing, you are a reserve and you will also be found if you get too close. I will go alone." Jack frowned. "When we came, we found 5 people hiding around us. Wouldn't it be too dangerous for you to go alone?" Luo Fengqing also asked, "In an emergency, how soon can you come here and join us?" They did not know that Tang Yamo had a fast moving ability. He could raise his speed to the speed of sound and escape. Tang Yamo bowed slightly. "Very soon. Even if I can't beat them, I can escape and join you." Jack was ready to say something but Luo Fengqing stopped him. "Okay, we will wait for you until 0.15. If you don't come back, we will find a place to hide." Tang Yamo nodded. The next moment, he turned to look at Nanjing Road in the distance. Whoosh! An vigorous figure moved through the night, breaking the wind and heading to the dark tower at a very rapid speed. As Tang Yamo was running, his body was tense and he was always alert to movements around him. His mind was empty and his senses magnified infinitely. The wind whistled in his ears because of the extremely fast speed. He could clearly hear the beating of his own heart and at least 10 careful footsteps in a radius of 50 meters around him. On this New Year's Eve, Shanghai was quiet. There was no wind or rain. It was a quiet and beautiful night. This evening, dozens of players approached the Black Tower despite the danger. Once the bell of the Whiten Clock Tower announced midnight, the opposite side of Huangpu River didn't emit brilliant fireworks as it did in the past, announcing to the Shanghai residents that 2018 had arrived. At the junction of Nanjing Road and Waitan, more than 50 black figures arrived at the Black Tower at the same time. They sensed each other's presence, immediately running away to find the nearest position to hide. Tang Mo breathed heavily, clinging to the door of the Peace Hotel as he slowly sat on the ground. Just before he reached the Black Tower, he had met 12 players. They couldn't see each other in the darkness, but the dangerous breaths were undoubtedly exuded. The 12 people made a decision in unison. They turned and left, looking for a place to hide. Tang Mo ran to the first floor of the Peace Hotel, hiding behind the door. Then he quietly turned his head and looked through the window at the Black Tower outside. In the thick night, 12 o'clock arrived and passed. Tang Mo stared at the Black Tower carefully and frowned. Nothing. 7 days ago, the Black Tower issued a notice to all of China that the Black Tower version 2.0 would come online on January 1. Tang Mo and Luo Fengqing discussed it and thought that the Black Tower would likely go online at midnight on January 1. What if it is actually 6 o'clock? Tang Mo's heart thumped. 6 o'clock was the second possible time. One of the Black Tower's 3 major rules stipulated that 6 o'clock to 18 o'clock was the game time. Then the new version was likely to come online at 6 o'clock. In addition, the third possibility was 8 o'clock. It was because a month ago, the Black Tower announced that the Earth was online at 8 o'clock on November 15 and the game's official start at 8 o'clock on November 18. If it isn't midnight, I will go back and join Luo Fengqing and Jack. Wait 6 hours and then come back to see. Tang Mo thought. He looked at the giant tower again and quietly prepared to go back. But once he saw the middle part of the Black Tower, his gaze froze and he stared fixedly at the center of the Black Tower. The Black Tower was suspended in the sky like a black mountain. But at this moment, a small white spot was flashing lightly in the middle of it. This little spot of light flashed at a certain rhythm. Tang Mo counted the timing with his heartbeat. Thump, thump, thump. The small spot flashed every second. Once it flashed 60-second times, a second small spot lit up below it. But this time, the second small spot was only half lit up. The next moment, cheerful music was heard and countless children started to sing loudly. The children's song came from every direction, filling the darkness. The strange sound caused people's scalps to go numb. Happy New Year, wishing everyone a Happy New Year. We sing, we dance, we wish everyone a Happy New Year. Happy New Year. Tang Mo heard a few gasps from the surroundings. He clung to the windowsill and hid his body in the darkness, only his eyes peeking at the Black Tower dozens of meters away. In the darkness, the huge Black Tower radiated a colorful light, like the light balls in the old-fashioned KTVs of the last century. It illuminated all of Shanghai, the colored light spots shining on Huangpu River. It sang the joyful song over and over again, as if a group of children were singing and dancing to celebrate New Year's. More than 50 players hid in the darkness and stared at the Black Tower. The singing repeated 3 times before the light on the Black Tower suddenly stopped. Everyone stared at the scene with caution as the child's voice rang out. Ding dong. 162.21 million players have successfully loaded the game. Game saved. The player data is loading. The game data is loading. Save is successful. Loaded successfully. Loaded successfully. The reality instance is opened. The assembly instance is complete. Ding dong. On January 1, 2018, the Black Tower version 2.0 has officially launched. All players are welcome to enter the game. All players, please attack the tower. Ding dong. Happy games. The voice spread all over Shanghai. The light of the Black Tower darkened and the evening wind blew on the silent Huangpu River. 5 minutes later, a black figure quickly ran to the Black Tower, looked up for 3 seconds and left quickly. After that, more than 30 people went to the Black Tower in turn to observe the changes. Tang Mo's fingers tightened their grip on the marble windowsill of the hotel. The mottled marble slab had 5 clear fingerprints. He stared blankly at the black tower. After more than 40 people ran out to see the situation, Tang Mo ran out of the Peace Hotel. Instead of running to the black tower, he turned and found Luo Fengcheng and Jack hiding in the alley. Jack whispered. "You are back. It is already 0.14. Tang Mo's face was very ugly. He turned and looked at Luo Fengcheng. Luo Fengcheng's expression was also very bad. Like a month ago, it put on the Happy New Year song and emitted a colorful light. These could be seen from the distance. Did you see anything else in the vicinity? Tang Mo replied, before the Black Tower announced that the new version was online, I saw a white spot of light flashing in the middle of it. A white light. Yes. I counted it carefully and it flashed 62 times in a row. At the 63rd time, it blinked twice before flashing again. And when it flashed the 62nd time, there was a small spot underneath it. This light didn't flash. Only half of it was lit up. Then the new version went online and it was what you saw. At this time, footsteps were heard in the distance. Tang Mo immediately fell silent, while Jack held his breath. After waiting for the footsteps to pass, Tang Mo said, first find a place to hide. The 3 people ran 2 kilometers away and found an unoccupied hotel to hide. Tang Mo carefully explained everything he saw. The light spot didn't shine from the outside. It is from the center of the Black Tower. The center if flashing from the inside. The first light flashed 62 times. This number must have a deep meaning. As for the second spot, it is temporarily unknown. The Black Tower hasn't released news about the new version. It seems that the detailed rules of the game will have to be slowly explored in the future. Luo Fengcheng nodded. This point is very important. We need to analyze what it means. Tang Mo explained, the spot is very small and the flashing light is dim. A total of 53 people went to the Black Tower to observe the new version but 10 people at most found the small spot. Luo Fengcheng said, then we will go back and analyze it. Good. The appearance of a little girl flashed through Tang Mo's head. The girl with the super intelligent thinking and a judgment accuracy of up to 50%. If Chen Shanshan was here, she might be able to guess something that it had been over 7 days. Once Jack heard Luo Fengcheng say they would go back, he scratched his head and asked, you want to go back now? That's fine. The Black Tower's updated version is nothing and we didn't gain anything from this trip. The things it said were 7 days ago. At that time, it said that every player must participate in the tower attack game every 3 months. It didn't say that rule this time. After listening to this, Tang Mo turned his head slowly and looked at Jack. Jack couldn't understand why Tang Mo was looking at him like this. Then he turned his head and found that Luo Fengcheng was looking at him with a strange expression. Jack was stunned. Dr. Luo, did I say something wrong? Luo Fengcheng sighed. Jack, did you pay attention to the first sentence that the Black Tower announced? After all, Jack was a strength person and his memory wasn't very good. He recalled it and repeated, ding dong. 162.21 million players have successfully loaded. Jack's voice abruptly stopped as his eyes widened. All the muscles in his body tensed up. He was shocked. 162.21, 100 million. Not 400 million. Tang Mo spoke lightly. Yes. Within a month, 300 million more people have died. The author has something to say. Old food that I heard that I would play in this chapter and can met Tang Tang. Fua. QAQ sorry. Chapter end. Chapter 47. You are listening at novelfull.audio. As Jack said, Tang Mo and Luo Fengcheng couldn't do anything else so they returned to attack. They waited until 8 o'clock in the morning. It was to make sure that the Black Tower didn't change at 6 o'clock and that everything was normal at 8 o'clock. Once the sun rose, more players went to the Black Tower to observe the changes from the new version. Most of these players didn't take precautions. Although they were alert to the people around them, there were more than 50 people. They didn't hide themselves. The Tang Yamo group observed the Black Tower again in the daytime. Tang Yamo took a light-colored coat from a roadside store and changed into it. His appearance was deceptive. After wearing this casual style, he looked like an ordinary university student. In the crowd, he was aware of several gazes on him. He pretended to be indifferent as he stood with Luo Fengcheng and Jack. But Jack was really eye-catching. The three of them soon returned to Pudong. Along the way, Luo Fengcheng said, the Black Tower didn't give the players any hints about the new version. The assembly instances and reality instances can only be slowly figured out by ourselves. But there is no doubt that the need to attack the tower every 3 months won't change. Tang Yamo nodded. Yes. Many of the 50 people he was with last night should be stowaways. The Black Tower hated stowaways and the monsters inside the tower showed great hostility towards them. As long as the monsters ate a stowaway, they could gain a powerful ability. They sneaked towards the Black Tower last night and should be trying to find a way to resolve their identity as stowaway. But this time, the Black Tower's update had nothing to do with the stowaways. Last night, Tang Yamo had gone to the Black Tower to find out more information. No one knew what the Black Tower update was. This was its first update. They must have more information to survive the next version. For example, if he didn't come last night, he wouldn't have seen the small spot flash 62 times. Luo Fengcheng was a reserve player and his combat power was extremely weak. He wanted to come to see the changes in the Black Tower. Before the Earth went online, he was the leader of the Shanghai Black Tower Research Group. No one knew the Black Tower better than he did. Jack listened to Tang Mo's thoughts and said like it was natural. The stowaways are originally murderers. It is good that the Black Tower hates them. Before, the stowaways organization actually ate the hearts of people and Nia Fei died in their hands. If there are less of these type of people, we will have more hope to live. The reasons for killing are varied. Luo Fengcheng looked at Jack. The Black Tower gave humanity 3 days to log into the game. There was no indication that killing was one of the ways to enter the game. According to this speculation, 99% of the stowaways didn't kill for the Black Tower. But killing someone doesn't necessarily make the person evil. There are many reasons for killing. Jack nodded. I know. Tang Yamo looked at them and slowly sank into his thoughts. Killers weren't necessarily bad people. This sentence wasn't wrong. Tang Yamo wasn't clear on how the Black Tower defined stowaways, but according to the consistently tough style of the Black Tower, it didn't matter why someone killed. As long as they did, they were a stowaway. For example, there was the 15-year-old schoolgirl in the Big Mole game. The little girl was deceived by someone and became pregnant. Once she understood that the father wouldn't be with her, it was too late. She was already 7 months pregnant. For her physical safety, her parents decided not to take any risks. She would give birth and her parents would raise the child as theirs. The little girl suffocated her child after they were born. She was defined as a stowaway by the Black Tower and the Big Mole couldn't wait to kill her. According to China's laws, this crime definitely didn't deserve the death penalty. She might only be sentenced to a few years. But in the eyes of the Black Tower, all stowaways were equal. It didn't matter if they were a stowaway who ate hearts or a stowaway who suffocated their child. When the other went online, what area in the world had the highest survival rate? Tang Yamo suddenly asked. Jack thought for a moment. Should it be China or India? These countries have the highest population in the world. Tang Yamo shook his head. Luo Fengcheng replied, it is a war zone. A large population base might result in a large number of players surviving. But proportionally, there will be more players in a war zone. It is because they kill every day. Killing was the easiest way to enter the game. Tang Mo and Luo Fengcheng looked at each other. They soon returned to the mall. The Black Tower's update didn't bring any changes to the players. Tang Mo carefully observed every player who entered and exited the mall. They didn't seem any different from before to after the Black Tower update. Until the next day, when a reserve player hurried into the mall. It was an insignificant middle-aged man who was small and the most ordinary among the more than 80 players in the mall. Tang Mo looked down at him from the third floor of the mall and saw that he was rushing into a store at the fastest speed. As he walked, he kept looking around carefully at the people around him, as if worried that other people would notice him. Tang Mo narrowed his eyes before walking down the stairs. A light shadow quickly passed the stores and stopped at a cake shop. Once the middle-aged man entered the clothing store, he locked the door. His shadow couldn't even be seen through the glass. Tang Mo looked around before entering the cake store next door. He locked the cake store from the inside, then entered the kitchen of the cake store and found a ventilation fan. The kitchen table was filled with moldy cakes and the fan was covered with ash. Tang Mo opened the fan and measured the diameter of the tuyere with his right hand. He pondered for a moment before taking out Grandmother Wolf's small parasol. After speaking the spell, Tang Mo's right wrist moved and the tip of the parasol pierced the wall 10 centimeters below the vent. There was a clear sound as Tang Mo poked 4 small holes in the wall around the vent. He put away the parasol and carefully removed broken stones from the small holes. He cleared the holes and went to the warehouse of the clothing store. He clung to the door of the warehouse and heard the voice of the man and woman outside the door. Li Chang was pulled into a reality instance. I was walking with him just now and he was suddenly pulled in. What? Hush, keep your voice down. The middle-aged man hastened to cover his companion's mouth. After a while, the female voice rang out, how do you know it is a reality instance? The reality instance is something the Black Tower only recently made. What if Li Chang entered an undetected instance? Isn't it a safe type instance that we used to go to? Of course not. It is a reality instance. The man's voice was filled with a trace of fear. A big iron shoemaker suddenly appeared behind the factory and dragged Li Chang away. I don't know what Li Chang did. I was right next to him. The iron shoemaker just smiled at me and didn't drag me away. He also told me that I was welcome to enter the instance. Tang Mo's eyes narrowed. The woman asked, what about Brother Chang? Brother Chang went in. Why didn't you pull him out? The middle-aged man muttered, you think I can pull him out? What am I going to pull? The iron shoemaker's nails were all bloody. If I dared say a word then I would have died. I hurried back. Bang! There was a loud sound outside the clothing store and the middle-aged man and woman shook with fear. The 2 people hiding behind the counter trembled as they stared at the man who kicked open the door and entered. Tang Mo's hand was on the padlock that the middle-aged man used to lock the door. It had broken into 2 halves. Tang Mo threw the heavy lock to the ground and stepped towards the 2 reserve players. He gazed at the woman and then finally the middle-aged man. Tang Mo spoke calmly. You just said that a Black Tower monster appeared in the real world. The middle-aged man had seen Tang Mo and the attack members walk together. But this news was very important and valuable. His gaze shifted and he wanted to hide. I just saw someone pulling my companion away. Tang Mo spoke lightly. Attack space is here so nearby stowaways would never dare to come to this mall. Every night here could be spent without any fear. The middle-aged man and woman looked at each other, not understanding what Tang Mo was saying. Tang Mo saw their expressions and felt he should be tougher. He had 2 options. He could turn and find Jack. Jack was greatly feared in the mall. He never hurt anybody, but he had a giant body, causing the reserve players to feel afraid. And the other option was a small pink parasol pierced the wall in front of the middle-aged man and woman. Cobweb-like cracks appeared on the wall and spread quickly, covering half the wall. The middle-aged man saw this and his heart stopped. He slowly turned to look at this strange young man. Tang Mo's lips curved but his eyes were extremely cold. If you don't say it, I will kill you. 5 minutes later, Tang Mo walked into Luo Fengqing's office and got to the point. A reality instance has appeared. Luo Fengqing immediately looked up. A reality instance. Tang Mo brought the middle-aged man into Luo Fengqing's office. For the man, it was the first time he entered the attack organization's base. In this mall, the three-story underground car park belonged entirely to attack. Other players weren't allowed to enter. He trembled in front of Luo Fengqing as he explained everything that he saw. Luo Fengqing called Jack and Tang Qiao. Including the little fatty and Tang Mo, 5 people followed the middle-aged man to the place where reserve player Li Chang was dragged away. They were 1 kilometer from the area when Luo Fengqing stopped. Be careful, the way that the instance is triggered here is temporarily unknown. There is a high chance that we will also be pulled into the reality instance. Luo Fengqing asked the middle-aged man to carefully point out where the iron shoemaker appeared. It is at that corner. Li Chang and I wanted to try the brewery instance over there. It is an instance that we can safely exit from. I didn't expect that when we got here, there would be the sound of iron knocking against the ground. We are just reserve players and have no fighting power. We were scared and wanted to find a place to hide. But in a matter of seconds, the iron shoemaker appeared. He came out from there. The middle-aged man pointed to a corner of the factory. Tang Mo asked, "What does he look like?" The middle-aged man was scared just thinking about it. His height is 2 meters, at least 2 meters. He is very strong. He had a broken iron padlock in his left hand and a long nail in his right hand. Tang Mo asked, "How do you know he is an iron shoemaker?" The middle-aged man replied, "He said it himself. When he met Li Chang, he said, 'Welcome to the Iron Shoemaker's game world.'" The middle-aged man pointed out the path he and his companion had taken and the place where the Iron Shoemaker had disappeared. Tang Mo's group let him go. They walked to the vicinity and looked from a distance. Luo Fengqing said, "Zhao Xiang, try to move something over there." Zhao Xiang nodded. The little fatty had the ability to move objects through space. He moved a nail first. This little thing moved effortlessly. He steered it back and forth through the air and ground near the factory. The nail was unimpeded and didn't touch anything. Tang Qiao took out a large piece of foam cotton and handed it to the little fatty. The foam cotton was bulky but light. It was easy to move. The little fatty moved the foam cotton and still didn't encounter any obstacles. Tang Mo pointed to a small road behind the factory building. The instance is triggered here so we won't be able to go there. Go around from there. If a monster from the Black Tower really appears on Earth, it is likely that the game is on Earth as well. The 5 people avoided the path and moved forward. As the middle-aged man said, it didn't take long for Tang Mo to find a few drops of blood. The dark blood was hidden in the soil and difficult to detect. Luo Fengqing squatted down, grabbing some soil and placing it before his nose. He looked up, the smell of human blood hasn't dried up completely. The Iron Shoemaker really appeared nearby and the blood had probably dripped from the Iron Shoemaker's nails. The 5 people walked cautiously and halfway through, they found more blood on the ground. Tang Mo spoke. "You stay while the 4 of us will continue walking." Luo Fengqing was too weak. Not only would it be dangerous for him to encounter a monster, he would also become a burden to the team. He nodded and agreed to wait in this place. After another half a kilometer, Tang Mo's footsteps suddenly stopped. A crisp voice was heard in the ears of the four people. Ding dong. The reality instance, a lovely iron shoemaker, has been opened. Please complete the branch task, bump into the iron shoemaker, and then enter the instance. Tang Mo quickly grabbed the handle of the small parasol. Behind him, the little fatty moved a nail and Jack formed fists. Tang Xiao pulled out a knife. However, there was silence in the surroundings. The iron shoemaker didn't appear and the actual instance didn't open. Tang Mo vigilantly watched the surroundings before slowly releasing the hand holding the small parasol. It seems that the task of encountering the iron shoemaker must be completed before entering the reality instance. We shouldn't be able to enter yet. Tang Xiao nodded. This is a reality instance. Let's go back and talk to Dr. Luo about the situation here. The four of them were ready to leave. Wait. Tang Mo opened his mouth and everyone turned to look at him. They saw Tang Mo standing on the empty road, looking in front of him with a deep gaze. In front of him was a crossroad. From here, he could take the concrete road and go back. This was the intersection of several factories. It seemed to be the same as usual. There was no weirdness. Tang Mo watched for a moment, not saying anything. The little fatty asked, "Brother Tang." Tang Mo didn't answer with words. He stepped forward, one hand holding the small parasol. He walked 3 steps forward, then 4. Once he reached the 5th step, Tang Mo's right hand stopped and his expression changed. His hand pressed against the air and he said, "I can't go this way." The trio were astonished. Tang Xiao reacted first. She ran forward, pressing a hand to the air like Tang Mo, "There really is a wall." A glass dot-like wall was blocking the air. Tang Mo could see the opposite factory building and road but he couldn't get there. A breeze blew from behind them and passed through the invisible wall, blowing the leaves on the opposite side of the road. Tang Mo whispered, "The wind can pass. Little fatty, try a nail." Zhao Xiang replied, "Okay." A small nail shot towards the invisible wall. But like Tang Mo, it was blocked by the wall. The iron nail seemed to hit something, spinning at high speed as it tried to enter. Zhao Xiang put away the nail. The ground was dry and darkened with blood. The factory area was sunny and there was no change compared to usual. Tang Mo looked at the quiet and peaceful factory. This is a reality instance. Tang Mo and the others returned to Luo Fengcheng, telling him what they saw. Luo Fengcheng's expression immediately changed. He also walked to the invisible wall, trying to touch it. Like Tang Mo, he threw 3 pebbles at the wall and tried to pass it. The pebbles bounced back. But the sun and breeze all passed through the wall without any obstacles. This was a reality instance. Tang Mo looked at Luo Fengcheng and Luo Fengcheng looked at him. Luo Fengcheng said, "Objective existences such as the wind and sun can enter without being blocked." Tang Mo replied, "As long as it is something that is artificially changed, it can't enter. Even a stone." The Black Tower's new version was launched and a reality instance appeared. A day later, an assembly instance also appeared in front of everyone. In the early morning of January 3rd, the hour hand pointed to the 6 o'clock position and a loud voice spread throughout Shanghai. Ding dong. The assembly instance is open for a limited time. Game location. Banana Pub in the Underground Kingdom. Game reward. A bottle of Uncle Mario's favorite smelly sock soju. Game boss. The owner of Banana Pub. At 17.42 on January 3rd, all players are invited to participate in the game at Zhongtie Central Times Square in the Jingyan district. Ding dong. The assembly instance is open for a limited time. The Black Tower broadcasted it 3 times. When Tang Mo heard the voice, he was packing up and preparing to return to Suzhou. His hand started moving immediately as he listened carefully to the Black Tower's broadcast. The voice of the Black Tower stopped. Tang Mo was silent for a moment before pulling the door open and gonged to Luo Fengqing's office. Luo Fengqing seemed to have been waiting for him. One person sat at the table and the other stood at the door. They looked at each other and didn't speak. After a long time, Luo Fengqing said, 10 days have passed. Chen Shanshan and Xiao Feifei haven't returned. Are you going to wait another day to see the assembly instance or will you go back? Tang Mo walked to him, pulling out a chair and sitting down. He calmly analyzed, the biggest difference between the reality instance and other instances is that the game is on Earth. The Black Tower monsters come directly to Earth and start the game. Such an instance, the game content is worth pondering. Perhaps it is related to the surrounding environment. Tang Mo looked at Luo Fengqing and declared, I won't enter the assembly instance. Luo Fengqing was surprised. You don't want to go in? Yes. It just came out and no one knows how big the risk is. I will wait here to hear from you. Luo Fengqing understood what he meant. He looked calm as he asked, the attack organization will definitely enter the assembly instance. But Tang Mo, why should we tell you this precious news? Tang Mo said, I have met Mario. I can give you some information about him. Although the boss of this instance doesn't seem to be him, the prize is related to him and he is a frequent guest of the pub. I've also heard news of Banana Pub. Luo Fengqing's eyes brightened. You know this pub? Tang Mo looked calm. Yes. In my Christmas instance, the game boss was Pinocchio. He said something like, you are that stupid bug in Banana Pub, stupid and cute. Luo Fengqing's eyes narrowed. You only know this sentence. Luo Fengqing's tentative gaze stayed on Tang Mo's body. The air was quiet. Both of them looked at each other silently. Tang Mo's fingers tapped on the table for a while. His lips gently curved as he said, what if I said that I have an advertisement for Banana Pub? On the afternoon of January 2nd, Attack organized their 4 most powerful players. Jack, Zhao Xiang, Tang Qiao and a young man. The 4 of them went to Jing'an to participate in the assembly instance. Tang Mo stayed in the mall and watched them leave. The little fatty was surprised. Before he left, he asked, Brother Tang, you aren't going with us. You are so strong. Let's go together. Tang Qiao listened to this and looked at Tang Mo silently. Tang Mo had many reasons not to go. He looked at little fatty and said the one he could accept the most. I have participated in the Black Tower game. The boss was Mario. Mario is a frequent visitor of the pub. If I meet him there, I'm afraid that something terrible will happen. The little fatty said, you won't necessarily meet. As long as there is a chance of something bad happening, no matter how small the chance, it will definitely happen. Little fatty, this is Murphy's Law. Tang Mo smiled and gave a lesson to the little fatty. Who knew that Zhao Xiang would say, I know. Shanshan told me this. Shanshan said she came back to us because she was worried we would meet the stowaways. Shanshan. The little fatty's voice abruptly stopped before he murmured, Shanshan and Feifei haven't come back yet. The smile slowly disappeared from Tang Mo's face. Attack's 4-person team left quickly. Luo Fengqing said, this is the first time an assembly instance in Shanghai is opened. Not surprisingly, there won't be too many people going today. Players who are alone won't go. Only teams and organized players will be able to take risks. Tang Mo replied, every 3 months, the players must attack the tower once. Now 3 days have passed. S.type instances and other instances are limited. Once they are cleared, they disappear and are hard to find. The reality instances and assembly instances are in order to allow a player to improve their strength faster and let them cope with the tower attack game. He paused. After a long time, Tang Mo asked. The nation was researching the Black Tower for half a year. Luo Fengcheng, what did you study? Luo Fengcheng didn't reply. The wind whistled as Luo Fengcheng turned and entered the mall, speaking only one sentence. If we studied anything, Shanghai has 4 research groups. It isn't just me alone. Tang Mo stood in the sun, looked up at the Black Tower in the distance. The tower was always silently suspended there. No matter where he stood and how far away he was, he could see it clearly. Looking at the giant tower, Tang Mo could only feel cold, despite being bathed in the sunlight. He turned and walked into the mall. At 17.42, the Black Tower's prompt was heard over the city. Ding dong. The assembly instance is open for a limited time. 102 players in China District 2 have successfully entered the instance. A total of 102 players, the vast majority of which were definitely players with teams. The strength of the 4 attack members was among the highest in Shanghai. Tang Mo wasn't worried about their conflict with other players. They just needed to guard against the Black Tower. Apart from Zhao Xiang and Jack, Tang Mo was unfamiliar with the other members of attack. He came to the second floor of the parking lot. Luo Fengcheng didn't waste any of the electricity left by turning on the light. Tang Mo walked through the dark parking lot, avoiding obstacles based on his memory. He walked to his usual business car but didn't have time to go rest. Tang Mo listened carefully, paying attention to every sound around him. After confirming there was no one else around, he took out a ruby from his pocket. Today, Tang Mo used the banana pub advertisement for a transaction with Luo Fengcheng. As long as Little Fatty's group came out from the instance, Luo Fengcheng would talk about this case with Tang Mo. This advertisement flyer had been obtained when Tang Mo knocked against the wall with Mario's hat 4 days ago. Mario's hat could only be used 3 times a day. The 4th time would cause damage to Tang Mo himself. This hat had a change to give treasures and Tang Mo never wasted this chance. He wore the hat every day, seriously hitting the wall 3 times. Then he harvested a pile of garbage. The banana pub advertisement flyer, Cinderella's cloth shoes. Tang Mo obtained strange things but never any treasures. Of course, Tang Mo didn't throw these things away. He never knew when they would play a role, just like the banana pub advertisement this time. Perhaps by relying on this flyer, the Little Fatty's team of 4 could more easily pass the instance. In the darkness, he couldn't see the ruby. He used his fingers to explore this gem. Half a minute later, he held the ruby over his head and it changed to a hat. The next moment, the overwhelming smell of sweat drifted into Tang Mo's nose. Tang Mo held his breath, aimed at the wall of the parking lot and slammed into it. Bang! A pushpin fell off the wall. Bang! A half-eaten piece of pie fell. Tang Mo picked it up and was almost overwhelmed by the stinky smell of the pie. This special smell comes from Mario. Tang Mo exploded. If he kept wearing Mario's stinky hat, Tang Mo might be killed by this horrible smell. He hurriedly placed his hands on his hips and slammed into the wall. Bang! A glowing stone fell out of the air and rolled to the ground. A faint light illuminated the area 2 meters around them. After hitting the wall 3 times, Tang Mo couldn't wait to take off the hat and put the ruby back into his pocket. The third thing that came out was the glowing stone. It fell from the air, rolled a distance across the ground and hit a pillar in the parking lot. Tang Mo went to the stone, bending down to pick it up. Just as his finger touched the stone, Tang Mo pulled out a parasol from his backpack and quickly chanted the spell. As he finished speaking, he had a low laughter in the darkness. Tang Mo's left foot moved as his body flew like an arrow, the umbrella tip moving in the darkness. Clang! There was a loud metallic collision sound. Tang Mo was shocked by the powerful force on the other end of the small parasol. He didn't dare be careless. He opened the parasol and blocked the attack. The next moment, the other person directly bypassed the small parasol and attacked Tang Mo from below. Tang Mo's eyes narrowed. His palm blocked the man's fist as he attacked with the parasol. The two men collided in the dark parking lot. The glowing stone lay quietly on the ground, barely giving off a soft light. This person's speed was extremely quick. He didn't let Tang Mo attack from a distance, always attacking from a close distance. After a few counts, Tang Mo threw the small parasol and raised his arm to block the attack of this person. He bent down quickly, extending his right leg and sweeping it towards the other's lower body. The other person lightly avoided it. At the same time, one hand extended and passed through Tang Mo's defense. He grabbed Tang Mo's right wrist and forced a flip. Tang Mo's body was half twisted by this force and he was pulled into the man's chest. But Tang Mo didn't stay still. The moment he was pulled towards the man, he grabbed the man's right arm. Everything happened in the blink of an eye. The two men imprisoned each other's actions. Tang Mo moved his left hand and stepped on the man's foot. The latter immediately released his wrist and stepped back. He moved behind the pillar in the parking lot to avoid Tang Mo's attack. Tang Mo didn't rest. He turned and attacked again. As he ran, he picked up the small parasol he had thrown to the ground. The umbrella tip was held to the man's neck. At the same time, a military dagger reached Tang Mo's belly at a speed that the human eye couldn't follow. The movements of the two men stopped. In the darkness, there was a faint breathing sound near his ear. The voices of some attack members could be heard from a staircase in the distance. They quickly went upstairs and didn't stop on the second floor. Tang Mo was holding the umbrella handle while the dagger wasn't sheathed, the sharp blade pressing against his lower abdomen. After a long time, Tang Mo opened his mouth and spoke in an indifferent voice. He pressed the small parasol closer to the man's throat. "Mr. Fu, long time no see." "Long time no see, Tang Mo." Fu Wenduo said with a smile. The author has something to say. Many years later, when recalling this meeting. Tang. I didn't know I would be with him. It is fair to say that we both saw the light. Poker face, old Fu. When I met my wife, he was passionate about changing into a magical girl. I fell in love with him at this time. Not really. Chapter 48. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Since his physical improvement, Tang Mo's five senses had also sharpened. He really did discover Fu Wenduo's existence after the glowing stone fell from the air. Fu Wenduo had been hiding. Once the stone rolled to the pillar where Fu Wenduo was hiding, Tang Mo's sixth sense found something wrong. He pretended not to find out. As he was grabbing the stone, he pulled out the small parasol at the fastest speed and attacked. The other person had been hiding for so long without being discovered. The other party had definitely been here before Tang Mo. As Tang Mo fought against this person, he gradually felt a sense of familiarity. The two men made contact with each other and Tang Mo thought of a name. Fu Wenduo. Half a month ago, the two of them had teamed up to deal with Pinocchio in the honest card game. Tang Mo realized that Fu Wenduo didn't have time to react when Tang Mo first attacked. It was an emergency, so Fu Wenduo turned his body into metal and blocked the umbrella tip. The metal collision sound was very familiar. Then the two sides exchanged crisp attacks and Tang Mo got the impression of Fu Wenduo in the Pinocchio instance. But knowing who the other person was didn't mean that Tang Mo could relax his vigilance. He held the small parasol tightly, the tip against Fu Wenduo's neck. He asked coldly, "Mr. Fu, why are you here?" Grandmother Wolf's small parasol could be used as a defensive weapon when opened. Only the top could be used as an attack weapon. This was an introduction to the prop that was the small parasol. Tang Mo was currently imprisoning Fu Wenduo with the small parasol but wouldn't hurt him, just like Fu Wenduo with the dagger. "Looking for someone?" Fu Wenduo's voice echoed in the empty parking lot. The glowing stone couldn't illuminate that much. In the darkness, the breaths of the two people tangled together like they were one. Tang Yamo asked calmly, "You are looking for someone?" Tang Yamo didn't take it for granted that Fu Wenduo was looking for him. If the other person really wanted to find him, the turkey egg could be used. Before leaving Pinocchio's instance, Tang Yamo told Fu Wenduo that he was in Pudong. He didn't really want to meet the stowaway after leaving the instance. But according to common sense, after hearing Tang Mo's position, Fu Wenduo would think that Tang Yamo wanted to meet him. Fu Wenduo didn't use the turkey egg to contact Tang Yamo in advance and also quietly sneaked into the small. In all likelihood, the person he was looking for had nothing to do with Tang Yamo. Fu Wenduo took back the dagger pressed against Tang Mo's belly and placed it in a hidden buckle at his waist. Tang Yamo was silent for a moment. Then he stood upright and took the small parasol back. Fu Wenduo saw Tang Mo's actions and smiled imperceptibly. "I am looking for someone, maybe you know them. Since you are here, you must be a member of the organization." Tang Mo's heart tightened. He realized that Fu Wenduo mistakenly thought he was a member of Attack. He didn't refute it. He spoke lightly, "You mean Attack?" "Yes." The Attack organization was somewhat famous in Shanghai. Their reputation was well known among the scattered players. After eliminating the Stowaways organization that ate the human hearts, the single players gradually became aware of their names. There was an answer in Tang Mo's heart. He asked, "Who are you looking for?" The light was dim and the expression of the other person wasn't clear. Tang Yamo felt the pair of dark eyes staring at his body. Fu Wenduo spoke the name of that person. China's Black Tower Institute Team A leader, Luo Fengcheng. No one in Attack knew Luo Fengcheng's true identity. They just thought he was a doctor at a research institute in Shanghai. To be able to accurately know Luo Fengcheng's identity, Fu Wenduo's identity wasn't simple. In addition, he was powerful. He could sneak into Attack's base and not be discovered by any member. Tang Yamo would find it difficult to stop him from seeing Luo Fengcheng. Tang Yamo thought for a moment before looking up. "I will take you to see him." Fu Wenduo's lips curved. "Good." Tang Yamo put the small parasol into his backpack and took Fu Wenduo to Luo Fengcheng. Before he left, Tang Yamo picked up the stone that had seemingly rolled across the ground randomly. As the two people entered the range of the light stone, Fu Wenduo's appearance entered Tang Mo's eyes. He was tall and had a deep face. He looked calm and seemed to pay no attention as Tang Yamo picked up the stone. Tang Yamo spoke calmly, "It was a prop just then. I got it from an instance." Some things spoke directly would dispel some speculation. Fu Wenduo nodded lightly and didn't ask anything else. He didn't seem to pay attention to Tang Mo's collision with the wall. The two men walked to the stairwell together. Just as they were about to go up the stairs, Fu Wenduo spoke in a low voice. "Do you need to hit the wall when using that prop?" Tang Yamo. He saw it. Tang Yamo no longer cared about this person. He took Fu Wenduo to the third floor of the parking lot and knocked on Luo Fengcheng's door. He entered the room first. Luo Fengcheng was studying the iron shoemaker instance discovered a few days ago. He was surprised when he saw Tang Yamo. "I thought that you won't come to me until Jack came out of the assembly instance." "That's what I intended." Tang Yamo didn't deny it. "But one person wants to see you." Luo Fengcheng realized something was wrong. "Who is it?" He stood up. Tang Yamo moved to the side and a tall figure entered the room. He was a little taller than Tang Yamo. When they stood together, Tang Yamo was like a sword in a scabbard, the blade was sharp. The man was more like a heavy black knife and was restrained. Luo Fengcheng's grip on the document became tighter. He was only a reserve player but he realized that this man was as dangerous as Tang Yamo. He might be even more dangerous than Tang Yamo, from the perspective of strength. Tang Mo saw Luo Fengqing's vigilance and realized he didn't know Fu Wenduo. He had known Luo Fengqing for more than a few days. Thus, Tang Mo took the initiative to help Luo Fengqing gain the upper hand. He is Fu Wenduo. Luo Fengqing's expression changed instantly. Tang Mo saw his expression change from suspicion to surprise and then finally a smile. Luo Fengqing said, "Major Fu, it has been a long time since I heard this name. After the Earth went online, China lost all famous names." Tang Mo's narrowed as he caught the keyword. Major. Fu Wenduo stood by Tang Mo's side and asked, "Did you know I would come to you? I thought that if someone was alive, they would come to me." Luo Fengqing explained. "Thus, when I left the institute, I deliberately rearranged my office. If someone came to the office to find the data, they would see that I am alive. Unfortunately, I didn't know at the time that Major Fu was still alive. If you had opened the first floor of the Black Tower earlier, I could have made better arrangements." Tang Mo stood quietly to one side, listening to them casually without interjecting. Luo Fengqing looked at him. "Tang Mo, it seems that you already know Major Fu." Tang Mo replied, "All Chinese players should remember his name. I know him because both of us were in the same Christmas benefits instance." Tang Mo didn't expose the existence of Momo. Luo Fengqing nodded. "So that was it. The reason why your instance was so difficult was because the other player was Fu Wenduo. No wonder. Fu Wenduo was the first player in China to clear the Black Tower's first floor. If he was there, the instance would definitely become more difficult." Tang Mo had completed his task by escorting Fu Wenduo here. It seemed that there was a relationship between Luo Fengqing and Fu Wenduo. They weren't completely unfamiliar with each other. Tang Mo prepared to leave. He wasn't interested in eavesdropping on the conversation between the two of them. Luo Fengqing said, "Major Fu, I can probably guess why you came to Shanghai." Fu Wenduo raised his eyebrows. Fu Wenduo was blocking the door. Tang Mo wanted to leave but he discovered this person only left a gap of 10 centimeters, Tang Mo couldn't leave. He was going to have the other person make a path for him when Luo Fengqing spoke to him. "Tang Mo, I think with your strength, you might have experienced something similar. If you are interested, stay here and listen to me. Don't you want to know what the Shanghai branch of the Black Tower Institute discovered before the Earth went online?" Tang Mo paused and he turned back. "You said that you didn't find anything." "Yes, we didn't find anything that could change the Black Tower," Luo Fengqing admitted honestly. "But we found a strange phenomenon. This phenomenon didn't affect the Black Tower and it couldn't stop the Black Tower game." Tang Mo asked, "What phenomenon?" Luo Fengqing stared at him. "Before the Earth went online, did you feel irritable and your heartbeat? Did it accelerate?" Tang Mo looked surprised. D. He was silent for a long time and changed his idea of leaving here. Luo Fengqing smiled, "Tang Mo, Major Fu, please sit." Tang Mo felt strange when Luo Fengqing mentioned his name together with Fu Wenduo. He looked at the man next to him before sitting down in a chair. Fu Wenduo glanced at him, smiled and sat down in another chair. A bright lamp lit up the small room. Luo Fengqing put all the messy files on the table into a drawer. He sat on one side of the table while Tang Mo and Fu Wenduo took the other side. Luo Fengqing smiled and said, "Tang Mo, since you stayed, it seems that you experienced the faster heartbeat phenomenon before the Earth went online. In the attack organization, only Nia Fei experienced this phenomenon. Unfortunately, now Nia Fei is gone. I think that beside you, Major Fu should have a similar phenomenon." Tang Mo and Luo Fengqing turned to look at Fu Wenduo. Fu Wenduo nodded calmly. Luo Fengqing explained, "On November 15, the Black Tower announced that the Earth was online and gave 3 days to select the players. On the evening of November 17, we found 4 patients with rapid heartbeats in 3 hospitals in Shanghai. Their symptoms were very similar. Their hearts beat faster, their mood was irritable and they couldn't keep calm. Tang Mo remembered his experience in those 3 days. Luo Fengqing's expression didn't change as he looked at Tang Mo and Fu Wenduo. He said, "We found it strange, but there was too little time to study this phenomenon. We hadn't yet discovered any clues when the game officially started on the 18th. But after the game officially started, I had time to slowly study this phenomenon. I met Nie Fei and he gave me a lot of research materials and directions. Finally, I developed some ideas and called this phenomenon, Black Tower Selection." Tang Mo's heart immediately skipped a beat. Luo Fengqing's voice stopped and he looked at Fu Wenduo. "Major Fu, you seem to have known this and might be more familiar than me. I don't need to introduce you to Tang Mo." Then he looked at Tang Mo and smiled. "Tang Mo, let me introduce you. Code name Xiaolong, Valiant Dragon, Captain of the Special Team A of China's South Military Region. The youngest major in China, Fu Wenduo. The author has something to say." Tang. You said you didn't see it. You obviously saw everything yet you still said this. You said it. Lao Fu. Hashtag my wife wants me to play dumb. What should I do? Hashtag. Chapter 49. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Tang Mo had long guessed Fu Wenduo's identity. But once he heard it, he couldn't help sneaking a glance at the man next to him. Fu Wenduo's keen senses meant he quickly caught Tang Mo's eyes. His peak was discovered. Tang Mo nodded without changing color. Fu Wenduo gazed at him for a moment with a meaningful look. Luo Fengqing continued. "Now that we know each other, I will explain what the Black Tower Selection is. But before that, Major Fu, can you confirm that your identity as a stowaway is because?" Fu Wenduo spoke calmly. "On November 16, I performed a secret mission at the border." Tang Mo and Luo Fengqing instantly understood his meaning. All those who killed and eliminated players before entering the game were classified as a stowaway by the Black Tower. But there were many reasons for killing. Some were really murders while some killed for other reasons. Tang Mo had long wondered about why Fu Wenduo was a stowaway. In particular, the doubts in Tang Mo's heart increased when they met in Pinocchio's instance. Fu Wenduo's performance in Pinocchio's instance was really not like a crazy murderer. A good explanation for why he became a stowaway was a secret mission. At the same time, it explained why Tang Mo felt this person was different from the other players in Pinocchio's instance. It was a type of steadfast, military bearing, like a hidden blade. "I might have heard of Major Fu before, but this is the first time we are actually meeting. I have to ask some things in advance." Luo Fengqing didn't show any shame at suspecting Fu Wenduo. Luo Fengqing spoke honestly. "In late November, I left the Black Tower's first-floor game and met the attack organization. I got their approval and formally joined the organization as a reserve player. Then I found Nie Fei." "Tang Mo, you have met Nie Fei. You must have some impression of him." Tang Mo thought about it. "I met him when I let Mario's instance. Although young, he was quite calm. Nie Fei's ability is flying. To be precise, his ability isn't ordinary flight. He can walk in the air using some type of medium." Luo Fengqing took out a piece of paper and threw something on it. "We can't see the air. Nie Fei's ability doesn't allow him to walk on air. But besides the air, there are many things he can walk on." Luo Fengqing drew dense dots on the white paper and wrote next to it. "Sand. For example, in battle, some sand is scattered in the air and Nie Fei can walk on the sand." He drew a rough figure on the paper. The tiny sand becomes solid ground under his feet. Once stepping on the non-physical ground, his speed can reach a maximum of 100 meters per second. And this ability is unrestricted. Fu Wenduo asked, he can only walk on things like sand. Luo Fengqing shook his head. Sand is just an example. What surprises me the most about Nie Fei's ability is that his ability was constantly changing. When I first met him, he could only walk on relatively large objects like stones and planks. By the time he was killed by the Stowaways organization, he was already able to walk on sand. What does that mean? Perhaps after a while, he could walk on smaller things without using sand. In the end, he might have been able to freely walk anywhere. This is spatial displacement. Tang Mo immediately thought of Little Fatty's ability. Zhao Xiang's ability is similar to space movement. But he can only move other things, not himself. When I first met him, he was able to move some small things. Now he can move big things very quickly. His progress isn't as fast as Nie Fei. Luo Fengqing said, Zhao Xiang didn't experience the fast heartbeat phenomenon. Tang Mo closed his mouth and continued to listen. On the night of November 17, 3 hospitals in Shanghai received 4 patients. Each patient had no obvious pathological features, but their heart rate continued to accelerate and their mood was irritable. Among them, the slowest one was a heart rate of 119 and the fastest one was a heart rate of 136. At this time, the situation wasn't discovered. I only thought it was a condition that hadn't been identified. One of the researchers in Shanghai Group B. Luo Fengqing paused for a moment. A young girl who just graduated with a PhD. She discovered the situation and reported it to the institute. Luo Fengqing continued explaining. After I learned about the situation, I immediately brought the 4 patients to the institute and 3 groups investigated the changes that occurred in them. At the same time, I reported the situation to Beijing. Fu Wenduo nodded. I saw this information in the database of Beijing's Research Institute before I decided to come to Shanghai to check the situation. He paused for a moment. No one in the Beijing Institute survived. It was like this. The 3 people were silent for a moment. Then Luo Fengqing looked at Tang Mo, have you calculated your highest heart rate? Tang Mo replied, it was around 169. I didn't count. Fu Wenduo stated, 171. The 2 numbers were very close. Luo Fengqing glanced at them and closed the folder on the table. He solemnly looked at the 2 players, one an official player and one a stowaway. After a long time, he smiled, all of this is just my guess. After 30 minutes, Tang Mo left Luo Fengqing's office first. Fu Wenduo had come all the way from Beijing to Shanghai. He naturally had some things to ask Luo Fengqing. Both of them had state secrets. Tang Mo wasn't interested in eavesdropping on this type of conversation. He walked out of the office and leaned against the wall to think. Black Tower selection was what Luo Fengqing called the phenomenon. The targets selected by the Black Tower were very random. The common thing was that in those 3 days, the people's heartbeat would continue to accelerate and drugs didn't alleviate it. There was emotional irritability, psychological anxiety, and some people might even be tempted by criminal desires. Of the 4 patients that Luo Fengqing studied, the patient with a heartbeat of 136 was sent to the hospital because he was injured in an altercation at a restaurant. But he didn't kill that person. At the end of the 3 days, all 4 patients disappeared. The humans selected by the Black Tower didn't necessarily enter the game. Many of them didn't survive those 3 days. But as long as they survived those 3 days, their ability would be more powerful. Fu Wenduo was the first player in the world to clear the Black Tower's first floor. Tang Mo was the first person in the world to pass the Black Tower's hard mode. As for Nie Fei, he once had the most powerful ability in attack, stronger than Jack. If it hadn't been for that incident, he might have been able to clear the Black Tower's first floor smoothly. Luo Fengqing gave 2 possible reasons for this completely random choice. First, the change is given by the Black Tower. The Black Tower gives some humans different qualities. This selection will affect the player's ability level. However, many of the selected humans didn't enter the game at all. The Black Tower didn't give privileges to these players. Then why give them such a special change? Therefore, I think this possibility is 40%. In the dark parking lot, Tang Mo whispered Luo Fengcheng's second speculation. It has nothing to do with the Black Tower. It is related to everyone. This change was named the Black Tower selection. However, it didn't mean it must be given by the Black Tower. It was like the abilities. Before the Earth went online, humans had no abilities. Luo Fengcheng and Fu Wenduo confirmed this point to Tang Mo. The appearance of the abilities was definitely related to the Black Tower. But each person's ability was different and could be strong or weak. Whether the ability was given by the Black Tower or the player themselves, no one knew. It was possible that the Black Tower was a catalyst that woke up the hidden abilities in humans. The official players and stowaways received more of a catalyst from the Black Tower, making them more likely to have an ability. The reserve players had a weaker presence and the Black Tower gave them less of a catalyst effect, making it difficult for them to gain abilities. This speculation was definitely feasible. Therefore, the Black Tower selection might be the same as the abilities. It wasn't necessarily related to the Black Tower. It was the players themselves who had the qualifications to be selected. Tang Mo was leaning against the wall when the door next to him opened. He turned his head to look. Fu Wenduo exited the room and looked at him. The two people looked at each other for a moment. Then Fu Wenduo smiled and asked, "Do you want to know more information?" Fu Wenduo had stayed behind in order to learn more about the Black Tower. Luo Fengcheng also wanted to get outside information. Tang Mo didn't deny it. He looked at the tall and handsome man in front of him and remembered the code name, Xiaolong. As if noticing Tang Mo's thoughts, Fu Wenduo closed the door and the two people were in the darkness together. Fu Wenduo explained, "Xiaolong isn't my code name. It is the code name for the entire unit. Every secret unit in China has no official number, only the code name. The Special Army Team in the Southwest Military Region, codename Xiaolong." Tang Mok coughed at this explanation. "Major Fu, I really want to know information about other places. You came from Beijing. You must have gone through 3 provinces and 2 cities along the way. You should have seen some things and have outside information. I was in a hurry when I came from Beijing. The trip only took me 4 days. The stay was too short to have comprehensive news. But it is indeed a lot more than you." After a pause, Fu Wenduo continued in a deep voice. "You can call me Fu Wenduo." Tang Mo didn't call out this name. He said directly, "What is the price for exchanging this information?" Tang Mo knew that Fu Wenduo had received a lot of information from Luo Fengcheng. What he knew, Luo Fengcheng basically knew. Therefore, Fu Wenduo would know almost all of it. There wasn't much news he could exchange with Fu Wenduo, but he was eager to know about the outside world. In particular, he wanted news about Beijing. Tang Mo's last friend was in Beijing. Tang Mo already planned to tell Fu Wenduo his knowledge about the underground kingdom and the monster world. But then a low laughter was heard in the darkness. Tang Mo looked around. The light was so dim that he couldn't see the other person's face, only a vague outline of their figure. Fu Wenduo said, "No need. I will tell you directly." Tang Mo paused. "Mr. Fu. As you said in Pinocchio's instance, we have known each other for a while. Tang Mo, there is no need to be so unfamiliar." Tang Mo was silent for a moment. Fu Wenduo, why? Why didn't he want anything for this valuable information? Tang Mo thought that his relationship with this man wasn't good enough for the other person's selfless declaration. Fu Wenduo's voice was calm but there was some meaning to it. "Before I came to Shanghai, I went through Suzhou. There, I killed 3 stowaways." Tang Mo suddenly understood what Fu Wenduo wanted to say. Luo Fengqing said that the 7 people in this organization had killed many people in Shanghai. In Suzhou, they killed even more people. When I first arrived in Suzhou, it was an almost empty city. There were no players and everyone was hiding. I can't even see people on the streets in the day. Tang Mo asked, "You killed the last 3 people in that organization?" "Yes." After a long time, Tang Mo said, "Thank you. That is my hometown." Fu Wenduo laughed. "There is no need to say thank you. It is the same. Some things might seem important but in fact, they aren't as precious when compared to something else. What do you want to know? If I know it and it doesn't touch my bottom line, maybe I can say something. After all, you are the other owner of Momo." Tang Mo no longer hesitated and directly asked, "How is Beijing?" "The capital of China, the political center before the earth went online, Beijing." "How was it in Beijing?" Fu Wenduo stopped walking. In the darkness, Tang Mo sensed that this man was looking at him. "It is similar to Shanghai. It isn't any better. It might be even worse. The author has something to say." Tang Tang. "Ah, I have nothing on my body to move his heart. How can I exchange information? All the lovely readers and author, you alone can make old Fu's heart move." Feeling resentful for not meeting expectations, face old Fu. Silently praising face. Chapter 50. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The underground parking lot was dimly lit. The 2 of them went up the stairs and moved outside. It was night and the sky was dark. Without the illumination of the city lights, the night in Shanghai was very quiet, with few stars in the sky. After they walked out of the mall, Fu Wenduo took one side and said, "The situation in Beijing isn't better than Shanghai. It is similar. All regions of China should be in a disorderly state at this moment." Regardless of the size of the city, the situation was almost the same. Tang Mo nodded in understanding. The Black Tower game started too suddenly, despite issuing an announcement 3 days in advance, requiring all humans to eliminate players and enter the game. But no one knew what this sentence meant. In those 3 days, the official players who completed the Black Tower game couldn't say anything about the game. Li Bin confirmed this, and couldn't tell other humans. They were destined to enter the game 3 days later. Thus, after the Earth went online, the government systems around the world were basically paralyzed. The way that the Black Tower filtered players had nothing to do with their original identities. Some confidential personnel like Fu Wenduo and Luo Fengqing survived, while ordinary citizens like Tang Mo also survived. There were also many murderers, such as the thief named Xian Sanquan that Tang Mo once encountered. He also survived to enter the game. It was an irregular game that completely overturned the social order that humans had maintained for thousands of years. But after all, people were social animals. Tang Mo wondered, does Beijing have an abilities organization like Shanghai? Shanghai had a few other organizations as well as attack. It was just that attack strength was high and they were quite famous in Shanghai. Fu Wenduo said, "There are many small organizations and one very large organization." Tang Mo detected a hint of something wrong from his tone. "This organization. It is a stowaways organization." Tang Mo's footsteps stopped. Beijing's largest organization is called Sky Chosen, consisting of more than 30 stowaways. Everyone is very strong and one of them cleared the Black Tower's first floor. Tang Mo was surprised. "How do you know that they cleared the Black Tower's first floor?" Fu Wenduo explained. "I had a fight with him before leaving Beijing. He is very strong. This strength must have been discovered by the Black Tower and forced to attack the tower." After a pause, he continued, "Just like you were forced to attack the tower." "Yes." Fu Wenduo looked up at the quiet and vast night sky, voice calm. "He is the same. He must have been forced to attack the tower and succeeded. This possibility is 90%. He has already cleared the first floor, perhaps earlier than you. Apart from the first player to clear the Black Tower in each district, the other players to clear it won't be notified globally and no one will know. Of course, you are an exception. I am an exception. Tang Yamo pondered on Fu Wenduo's words. He suddenly heard the other person mentioning him with such inexplicable words. He stood and turned to look at Fu Wenduo with surprise. Fu Wenduo shifted his gaze from the stars to Tang Mo's dismayed face. Tang Yamo rarely showed such vivid expressions. Most of the time, he would hide his emotions or disguise them. But this thing was really beyond his expectations. His eyes were slightly wide and a strand of hair fall across his forehead, making him seem a bit naive. Fu Wenduo understood the reason for his shock. He thought about it and chose to tell Tang Yamo the truth instead of concealing it. According to my speculations, the Black Tower has been online for almost 2 months now. At least 20 players have cleared the first floor. Thanks to the Christmas benefits instance, many players were forced to attack the tower. Although most players haven't reached the first level, this number is too large and the number of those who cleared the tower will be objective. A conservative estimate is that at least 60 players around the world have now cleared the first floor of the Black Tower. But whether they passed the instance or not, there is no announcement like everyone else. Only you. Fu Wenduo got to the point. You passed the Black Tower's first floor in difficult mode. The moment you cleared it, the Black Tower announced in my mind that player Momo of China's District 2 has cleared the first floor of the Black Tower, difficult mode. There was no world announcement or China announcement. I guess that it only informed the players who had already cleared the Black Tower's first floor. Tang Yamo. 1 month ago, Tang Yamo was pitted twice by the Black Tower. The first time was when he was informed of the tower attack game. Tang Mo sweated, worked hard to obtain abilities and props in order to save his life. The second was when he completed the game and the Black Tower told him he cleared it in difficult mode. Tang Yamo directly went to the Black Tower and vented his emotions on the stone tablet underneath it. Now he found out that the Black Tower gave him a service, allowing him to become famous among the high-level players in the world, who wanted to become famous. Tang Yamo was extremely lucky that he used the name change ability. It was Momo, not Tang Yamo, who was popular. The people who could pass the Black Tower's first floor before Tang Yamo were the best players in the world. Tang Yamo was cautious and didn't want to expose his strength in advance, which would make him a target. Tang Mo's expressions changed quickly. Finally, he sighed and restored his calm. He secretly decided that the next time he went to Puxi, he would look for a chance to kick the stone tables again. Next, Fu Wenduo revealed some brief outside information to Tang Yamo. To be it simply, all of China might be in anarchy and there was no social order, but most cities weren't chaotic. The appearance of the Stowaways organization in Suzhou was a special case. Fu Wenduo took the Beijing South Road to Shanghai, passing through 3 provinces and 2 cities. Only Suzhou had a crazy Stowaways organization that wantonly slaughtered people. The Suzhou Stowaways organization was also accidental. After all, according to Tang Yamo and Luo Fengcheng, the Stowaways were madly killing people because they had a special ability where eating the heart would make them stronger. Otherwise, a Stowaways organization wouldn't blindly kill unless it was necessary. It was because killing would lead to a large resistance by other players, not making it worth it. Fu Wenduo claimed that although the Stowaways organization in Beijing was very large, they didn't start anything with ordinary players and everyone was fairly safe. Tang Yamo sighed with relief when he heard the news. He didn't know if his university friend had successfully entered the game, but at least he wasn't being killed by other players in Beijing. Tang Yamo thought about finding an opportunity to go to Beijing. At this moment, an excited voice was heard in the distance. "Brother Tang, Brother Tang." Tang Yamo turned to look. He saw a young woman running from the direction of the mall, moving very fast. She reached him in a few seconds. Tang Yamo knew her. She was Liz, a member of the attack organization. Tang Yamo had once met her in the infirmary. Tang Mo's first thought was, did something happen to Luo Fengcheng? Liz shook her head and smiled. No, your friend is back. Tang Yamo frowned, not understanding her meaning. The little fatty, he left the assembly instance so fast. Suddenly, he thought of one thing. Chen Shanshan and the little girl are back. Liz replied, no, only one little girl returned. Chen Shanshan. She walked back to the organization and is now resting in the medical room. I just bandaged her wounds for her. Tang Yamo, she wanted to see you after returning to the organization. She has something to say to you and Dr. Luo. I remember that she had two classmates. One is the cute little fatty. He and Jack went to Puxi in the afternoon and haven't returned yet. The other classmate is clearing the S8 instance with members of our organization today. I'll go and find that friend. Tang Yamo said, okay, thank you. I will head back. Liz smiled. I am very happy that the little girl can come back safely. She quickly headed into the depths of the factory area, looking for Lu Chen. Tang Yamo looked at Fu Wenduo. A friend of mine just came back from the game. Fu Wenduo understood his meaning. I will go back with you. He paused and calmly said, not back to attack. It isn't good to act at night. I will look for a place to stay in the mall. The two men walked back to the mall together. Some words weren't easy to say in the vicinity of the mall. Tang Yamo and Fu Wenduo had already walked to the edge of the factory area. The roads were empty and the buildings on both sides were uniform. It was almost night. The players who entered the instance during the day temporarily hadn't come out. Other people have already returned to the mall to prepare for this quiet night. Tang Yamo put his hands in his pocket and looked ahead without speaking. He didn't know what to say. He and Fu Wenduo only knew each other for a month and a half. If they didn't count the time they were in contact through Momo, they only knew each other for half a day. Before the Earth went online, the identities of the two people were completely different. If the Black Tower hadn't appeared, Tang Yamo might never encounter Fu Wenduo in this life. The two people had a tacit understanding and didn't open their mouths. Gradually, the shadow of the shopping mall was visible between the leaves. Fu Wenduo spoke in a low voice. You said you are from Suzhou. Tang Yamo confirmed it. Yes, I am from Suzhou. I came to Shanghai because of some matters. I originally intended to return to Suzhou to see the situation with the stowaways. But since you have dealt with them, I'm not in a hurry to go back. You will stay in Shanghai instead of returning to Suzhou. Tang Yamo thought for a while. Maybe I will go to Beijing. Fu Wenduo asked, Beijing. This type of thing wasn't a big deal, so Tang Yamo replied honestly, I have a good friend who I haven't seen since graduating university. He works in Beijing. Fu Wenduo didn't ask anymore. Tang Mo's sentence already explained why he wanted to know about Beijing. The two of them continued to move forward, passing through a factory and crossing a road towards the mall. Just then, a sound was heard from afar. In the dark night, the sound was harsh, as if someone was dragging a heavy chain across the ground. The sharp sound echoed between the buildings. Tang Yamo heard this sound and felt that something was wrong. The next second, he remembered a name. Iron Shoemaker. But the moment that Tang Yamo reacted, a tall and burly figure appeared at the corner. It was a 2-meter-tall muscular man, wearing a greasy gray shirt and worn boots. He held a thick chain in one hand and a bloody and rusty nail in his right hand. On his face, a twisted knife scar ran across the bridge of his nose, from his left eye to the right corner of his mouth. The Iron Shoemaker was at the end of the road. Behind him was the mall and in front of him was Tang Yamo and Fu Wenduo. The Iron Shoemaker looked at the two people before smiling. What did I find? Tang Mo's brain was working fast as he thought about what the reserve player said yesterday. I don't know what Li Chong did. I was right next to him. The iron shoemaker just smiled at me and didn't drag me away. A person wouldn't necessarily be dragged away if they met the iron shoemaker. Of the two people, it wasn't necessarily Tang Mo who triggered the branch task and would be dragged away by him. Everything happened in the blink of an eye. Tang Mo quickly turned his head and looked at Fu Wenduo. Fu Wenduo's eyes were tightly locked on the iron shoemaker and his face was calm. Fu Wenduo noticed Tang Mo looking at him and glanced over. Tang Mo quickly said, I'm sorry. Fu Wenduo. Tang Mo didn't hesitate to turn and run. Fu Wenduo. Many people had heard the saying about tigers in the forest. If two hunters met a tiger together, how could they survive? It was impossible for a person to beat a tiger. So the hunter didn't hit the tiger but their companion. Tang Mo didn't know who triggered the branch task. However, turning to run was certainly the best option. If his companion was Chen Shanshan, Luo Fengcheng or even Jack, Tang Mo might hesitate and not choose this method. But Fu Wenduo was currently standing next to him. He might have just become familiar with this person but his strength was inferior to Fu Wenduo's. A dead friend might not die in a poor way. The moment Tang Mo turned to leave, he quietly sent some goodwill to Fu Wenduo in his heart. The iron shoemaker's reaction was also very fast. Tang Mo just turned and ran a meter. He waved the rusty iron padlock and flung it towards Tang Mo's right wrist. Tang Mo was tied by his right hand, forcing him to turn and look at the iron shoemaker. He saw this huge man open his teeth, revealing dirty and yellow teeth. He, welcome to the iron shoemaker's game world. Tang Mo's expression slowly sank as he understood that he triggered the game this time. He remained calm and secretly tried to break the iron lock. However, this seemingly ordinary iron padlock was firmly locked around his arm. Tang Mo was unable to break free with his current strength. Once the Black Tower issued a game, it wasn't so easy to resist. Even if he encountered a desperate situation in the game where the king's coin was required, he wouldn't use such strong resistance in the beginning. Fu Wenduo watched from the side. The iron shoemaker ignored him, only looking at Tang Mo. His eyes glanced back and forth between the iron shoemaker and Tang Mo, as well as the iron lock around Tang Mo's arm. His lips curved as he understood what had happened. He smiled at Tang Mo and said, I'm sorry. Tang Mo. It was the exact words that Tang Mo used when he decided to sacrifice Fu Wenduo. Now Fu Wenduo returned them to him. Tang Mo had already decided to participate in the game. He looked at Fu Wenduo's smile and felt this person was really blessed by the heavens. However, Tang Mo wasn't helpless for long. The iron shoemaker smiled and turned to look at Fu Wenduo. I also welcome you to the iron shoemaker's game world. The words had just finished when the iron shoemaker stomped his feet, causing a chain to shoot out from Tang Mo's chain and wrapping around Fu Wenduo's wrist at a speed that couldn't be followed with the naked eye. Fu Wenduo. Tang Mo. Fu Wenduo reacted and tried to escape. But the chain seemed to have eyes and was chasing him. Once Fu Wenduo's wrist was tied, he quickly raised his right hand. His fingers disappeared and a dark metal weapon appeared. He didn't hesitate to cut downwards. There was a hard metal collision sound. The chain didn't break off and Fu Wenduo's face turned ugly. The iron shoemaker saw his movements and burst out laughing. A familiar child's voice was heard in their ears. Ding dong. Triggered the branch mission bump into the iron shoemaker, and you have entered the reality copy of the Lovely Iron Shoemaker. Please follow the Lovely Iron Shoemaker and enter the Iron Shoemaker's workshop house. Hint. The Iron Shoemaker's love chain is a causal weapon. After being tied, only the Iron Shoemaker can untie it. The Black Tower reminded them with this hint, and Tang Mo and Fu Wenduo no longer made futile attempts. In the moonlight, the Iron Shoemaker hummed a little song as he pulled the chain, leading the two men deep into the factory area. The chain was originally a long strip and now it was parted in the middle. One end was tied to Tang Mo and the other end was tied to Fu Wenduo. Tang Mo and Fu Wenduo walked side by side. They didn't struggle like the previous reserve and try to escape. They quickly followed the footsteps of the Iron Shoemaker. Apart from the iron locks around their wrists, no one would think they were subject to the will of another person. The Iron Shoemaker's song was even worse than Pinocchio. After a long time of listening to this terrible song, Tang Mo whispered, "Should we call it even?" Fu Wenduo replied in a low voice. "Are you calculating it?" "I am." "Then it counts." This time, they were really grasshoppers tied by a rope, iron chain. Tang Mo hoped that this incident wouldn't cause a gap between both of them. Although he did want to sell out his teammate, things had developed to this point. The really important thing was to work together to get through the present game. The Iron Shoemaker took the two people to the entrance of a factory. Tang Mo carefully observed the things around the factory. Fu Wenduo's gaze was always locked on the Iron Shoemaker. Every time on his body, including the nail and iron chain, was examined several times. Before entering this factory, the Iron Shoemaker tugged hard on the chain. Despite Tang Mo and Fu Wenduo clearly being connected to the same chain, only Tang Mo was pulled forward when the Iron Shoemaker tugged. Tang Mo walked forward half a step. The Iron Shoemaker gritted his teeth and smirked. "You are here, so enter." He kicked open the door and dim moonlight shone into the dark factory, illuminating a range of 2 meters. Tang Mo frowned as he looked between the Iron Shoemaker and Fu Wenduo. The eyes of the two men met in the air and they nodded. The Iron Shoemaker saw that Tang Mo hadn't entered yet and looked like he wanted to make a fuss. Tang Mo strode directly into the factory. The moment he walked into the factory, the iron chain tied to his wrist suddenly fell off. The iron chain seemed to possess a life of its own, moving back into the hands of the Iron Shoemaker. The door slammed shut behind Tang Mo. Tang Mo listened to the door for a while, the sound of the Iron Shoemaker's song moving further and further. He was taking Fu Wenduo to another place. This instance, it isn't a team one. Tang Mo wondered. The Iron Shoemaker and Fu Wenduo had gone far away. Tang Mo couldn't sit still. He turned and observed the surroundings. This was a food processing factory. Before entering the factory, Tang Mo had smelt a sweet fragrance in the air which came from biscuits. The earth had been online for a month and a half. The factory wasn't working, but the raw materials piled up in the factory weren't completely spoiled. Of course, it was impossible to eat them. The factory was dark and moonlight shone through the high windows, illuminating a corner. Tang Mo tried to push open the door. He couldn't push it open. Then he took a stone out of his pocket. In his rush, Tang Mo had hidden his backpack in a corner of the business car, not carrying it with him. He didn't have a flashlight, but remember the stone he previously obtained with Mario's hat. The light of the stone could only illuminate 1 or 2 meters around it, but it was better than nothing. Tang Mo rubbed the stone 3 times, then tried to step on it. Once he knocked twice on the stone, small lines of words gradually showed up. Prop. A magical stone, owner. Tang Mo, quality. Ordinary, level 1, attack. Normal, function. Smashing a person might cause some pain. It can shine and perhaps have some strange effects. Restrictions. None, remark. A stone can also have a dream, I want to be a pearl of the night. Tang Mo's eyes paused for a moment on some strange effects. Then he raised the stone and started to explore the factory. In the spacious and quiet factory, Tang Mo's footsteps echoed loudly between the walls. Tang Yamo used the stone to illuminate his surroundings while paying attention, closely observing all movements around him. If there was an incident, he would quickly pull out the big match to meet the enemy. This seemed to be the manual work area for the food processing plant. Tang Yamo walked more than a dozen meters and found a row of long, stainless steel tables. On these tables, some packaged food boxes were messily placed. The earth had been online for 2 months. Most of the food in the factory had already been looted by players. Only some food that fell among the boxes weren't found. Tang Yamo picked up a small box of bread and continued moving forward. The work area was part of the factory building and then it was the office area. Tang Yamo walked forward, holding the glowing stone in his hand. He stopped at the first office, attempting to wriggle the door handle. It was twisted open. Tang Yamo took half a step back, staring in front of him. Then he stretched out a leg and kicked open the door. Bang! The door was kicked open and dust flew. The room was quiet and there were no movements when Tang Yamo kicked open the door. Tang Yamo held the stone and started searching around. It was an ordinary office that had already been ransacked by players. He wondered if the players entered the factory because of this reality instance or if it was before that. Tang Yamo checked again and didn't find anything special. Then he moved on. Tang Yamo searched 3 offices and found no abnormalities. He just reached the innermost office when faint sounds were heard from inside the door. Tang Mo's eyes narrowed as he stared at the door. He didn't dare be careless and pulled out his giant match. After listening for a while, he opened the door with 1 foot. At the same time, his body moved sideways, leaning against the wall to prevent a sudden attack. Who's there? Tang Yamo frowned at the frightened male voice. The voice continued. Who is it, who is it? The voice suddenly became very excited, like he had thought of something. Is it a new player? Did a new player come? The male voice spoke several times. Tang Yamo thought for a moment. One hand tightly held the big match as he headed into the office. The ground was a mess. Countless snack bags were piled on the ground and it was stained with dark blood. A thin young man, like a withered black bat, was hiding behind a desk in the office, secretly watching Tang Yamo. He had some biscuit crumbs around his mouth. The previous sounds seemed to be from him eating. There were shocking black wounds all over his body. From the arms to the thighs, the stone illuminated black holes that seemed to be caused by a sharp object. The skin around these wounds were already purple. Only the player's improved physical abilities prevented him from dying. He was almost paralyzed and had fallen to the ground. The right leg had the most wounds and was currently in atrophy. It seemed he hadn't moved it for a long time. Tang Yamo relaxed his vigilance. He coldly asked, "Who are you?" The young man looked at him in horror. My name is Xing Feng. Are you a new player? I came in really early. This is the reality instance involving the Iron Shoemaker, right? I entered on the 1st. Do you know what the date is now? How many days have passed? You. Don't be afraid. I really mean you no harm. I'm not malicious. I haven't seen a new companion for a long time. Tang Yamo immediately asked, New companion? Xing Feng gulped with fear and nodded. Right, before you, I had 2 other companions. They both died. They were killed by the people over there. My leg was hurt by the Iron Shoemaker and I couldn't move to find any clues. If you hadn't come, I was afraid I was going to die too. Who are the people over there? Tang Yamo asked. Xing Feng looked horrified. He hadn't spoken yet when a bell ringing was heard in the office. At the same time, the dazzling light illuminated the bookshelf behind the office desk. Tang Yamo was surprised. What is that? The computer on the desk in the middle of the office had suddenly turned on. A video call was on the screen. All communication devices were unusable and power resources paralyzed after the Earth went online. How did this computer turn on? Xing Feng crawled back and forth with fear. He clung to the wall, pointing in a terrified manner at the computer. Come, they are coming. The people over there are calling. Tang Yamo licked his lips. He thought for a moment before stepping forward. He looked at the computer's body first. The computer's body wasn't turned on. Only the screen had turned on and someone had sent a video call invitation. Tang Yamo stared blankly at the computer screen before pressing the OK button. The next second, Fu Wenduo's face appeared on the computer screen. Tang Yamo asked with surprise, Fu Wenduo. Fu Wenduo also showed a hint of surprise. At this moment, a loud child's voice rang in the room. Ding dong. Triggered branch mission 2. Find the iron shoemaker's mission shoe polish. The author has something to say. Tang Tang. Sorry. Old Fu. I'm sorry. Iron shoemaker. Ha 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 ha, sorry. Tang Tang Old Fu.